Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and evening, depending on where you are in this world for this broadcast. We are here speaking today with. Okay, someone's got it in the background.
Someone may have their Facebook, YouTube, or something in the background, and we ask you to close that. We do apologize.
Because it echoes.
My heart is racing. We're having flashbacks to about 12 years ago.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, those little fun things. So this is Trekking Across the Universe on NDB Media, and today we are speaking to Nick Cook, executive producer, correct?
Well,
yeah, whatever.
Guy who
does everything,
begs people to do stuff.
Yeah, with Starship Intrepid and Matt Hodson, correct?
That is, yeah. Hi.
And do you have, you're an actor in the series. Is there anything else you do? Or just whatever Nick says?
Just whatever Nick says. And occasionally things he doesn't say.
Nobody does what I say. This is
no, I know. I learned that.
Firsthand, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just kind of wing it a lot.
Oh, yeah. Wing it a lot. All right, fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. These are the stars. These are the ones that make it happen on Starship Intrepid. If Michael is able, we can get the links going at the very bottom. We're going to have it on for Starship Intrepid from their main page on their website. Really good stuff. It's about the Intrepid. For those of you who are Voyager fans, you know exactly what Intrepid means. It is the namesake of the class of ship. And what is absolutely awesome about what these guys do, and gals, forgive me, is they do Star Trek, but they do it a la their own. They don't imitate where they have other characters from fandom that we know. It is their production. It's absolutely awesome. And they're about us. It says it's a series chronicling the adventures of the crew of the Starship Intrepid. Based out of Dundee, Scotland, Intrepid is one of the few British Star Trek fan productions. And I think it may be the only one, but Nick and Matt will correct me if I'm wrong. And to date, the only one produced in Scotland.
There was recently someone not that far from us put a fan film online who I have spoken to briefly. I don't remember the name at the moment, but there's definitely at least one other in Scotland. But very recently, just this year, I think. But it might have been late last year.
Well, there it is.
The name of it escapes me at the moment, and I'm really sorry if you're watching. But yeah.
No, maybe they'll reach out to us and say, hey, we'll have them to talk. They started in 2003 with a few enthusiastic fans, and it has grown as others have joined the production who may not necessarily be fans. I've learned this when I've interviewed programs. Major stars, they don't know what Star Trek is. I'm like, oh my goodness, but that's neither here nor there. But they do enjoy the various creative aspects. None of us started out as filmmakers, and we certainly don't claim to be professionals. Whoa, talking about Intrepid or NDB Media. Anyway, but as Intrepid has grown, so too have many. Our knowledge and experience, and we hope the lessons learned are appropriate in our work. It is really cool. I'm sure there are disclaimers right here and right now, but folks, we are playing in the CBS Paramount Plus Gene Roddenberry universe. It is an incredible sandbox, albeit I don't know if there's a sandbox up there in the Highlands of Scotland, but it is still something that we all get to play in. Nick,
we have sand.
All right, yes. How'd you get going on this, buddy?
I mean, we've discussed this before, but it is a very, very long and rocky road. And like I say, we're going back to kind of 2003 when I used to run the local fan club. And I'm pretty sure I do that every time I have this discussion about this topic, to be honest. But yeah, I was folding it up because it just wasn't, I was too busy with work and I didn't have the time and the inclination, and people were less likely to go because the whole point of a lot of these clubs is in the UK, you did not get, I mean, Star Trek, we were years behind the curve on Star Trek. You know, stuff were there in the States and it'd be 3 or 4 years before we saw it. So what used to happen in the UK was you would get these local clubs and somebody would source tapes from the US, taped off the TV of episodes they'd send over, and you would watch them as a group. And that's how we started out. And then laterally, they may have been coming to us through other means. I'm sure the statute of limitations has passed on any of that anyway. But, yeah, we used to watch Star Trek together. And other people were acquiring them themselves, and I think the time scale on these was getting shorter and shorter, and less people were coming along. And the few people that did come along, they would a lot of them would kind of sit there and go shh when they were trying to watch the episodes, and we're kind of like, we just want to chat and hang out. So I kind of decided I was wrapping it up, and a few of us, we were looking for something to do, and I said, look, why not do an audio novel or something? It could be fun. There were quite a few of us were role players, and we did Star Trek role playing. I said, let's do an audio novel with our characters. And it was Dylan Feeney who had said, why don't we just do a fan film? I was like, oh, why shouldn't we do a fan film? And Steve Hammond piped up. He tells a story all the time. I have a camcorder. And he dabbled in kind of filmmaking a little bit, just shooting stuff with his camcorder. And we said, yeah, let's do it. And I was familiar with Hidden Frontier. I didn't know a lot about it. And I was really I'd really enjoyed Starship Exodus first film, which came out just before this. I said, yeah, fan film. Hidden Frontier do 6 of these a year. It must be easy. We'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, skip ahead a few years, and by this time we're starting to kind of get a grip on what we're doing, and we've maybe shot most of a film at this point. So jumping forward to about 2006-ish, and we were still kind of chugging along, saying, okay, maybe this isn't as easy as we thought it was. And this was about the time that Farragut was starting up, and John Broughton, who is a very, very smart, very, very turned on guy, very switched on guy, had somehow managed to arrange a New York Times story about Farragut. And that was front page news. I mean, it was big, big news. So what we didn't, and, we got mentioned in like half of a sentence in Starship, because we were mentioning, fan films everywhere in LA and Starship Intrepid in Dundee, Scotland. And, we thought, oh, that's cool. We got a mention. Within hours, I had national press in the UK phoning me and phoning me at work.
Oh,
so this was like, wow. So we got a lot of coverage off the bat. I mean, some of it wasn't always the most positive experience, but we also had a lot of very good experiences with press. But so we got a lot of coverage off that. And in some ways that gave us a little bit of a boost. I mean, we hadn't even released a film at that point. So anyway, that's kind of how we got started, and we just kind of cracked on with it. And throughout the process of making films, I got very friendly with Rob Caves and a lot of the guys from Hidden Frontier. And was just visiting with them just a couple of weeks ago in LA, actually. Rob threw a barbecue, and we were over and hanging out with him and Risher and PK and some of those guys. So that was really nice. So we're still friends with them, and we still keep in touch. So that was a good friendship. I got to know the Johnsons a little bit from Starship Exeter, and I still speak to Josh from time to time. And obviously Phase 2, I got to know James Cawley a bit, and he invited me to do one of their episodes, which, I was kind of terrible in. Bar one scene I'm good in, the rest of the scenes I'm kind of terrible in. But because I was really nervous and really anxious about it, so, and I just really wasn't very good and switched on. But yeah, that was a fun experience. And I've made a lot of friends through the fan film community. And obviously Sam Cockings, and I mean, there's lots of people I'm not mentioning here who I've not worked with, but who I know from talking to online and sometimes having met in the real world. So it's just been an interesting ride, and it's kind of grown from, let's make a fan film to, kind of an obsession and a hobby that kind of was very difficult to let go of, because it just, and again, Matt, you've probably got you've had some exposure to this. It can be a lot of work and a lot of stress. And we were talking a little bit about this beforehand, just how difficult it is scheduling casts sometimes. Sorry, and this is kind of on for the tangent from what you asked me, but it's also the finished product generally is a lot of fun and makes it worth it. And it's difficult to give that up, actually, because you do get a buzz out of it. And the majority of most people don't even see what you've made, and the people that do see what you made, some of them really like it. Some of them are like, yeah, that was okay. And a fair few are like, well, that was shit. That was terrible. I didn't like that. What did you do? Oh, I can see the zips on your cut. But at the end of the day, you have fun doing it. And at the end of the day, you've got a film there that you get to sit and say, I made that. We're all in that. We did that together. That's us up on screen. And it's fun. You get to play in the sandbox. Yeah, it's not real Star Trek, but it's still fun to do, and it still makes you feel good.
I would take offense with that last line. It's not real Star Trek. Let me tell you, Nick, for a while there, it was the fan productions that kept it going. There was that significant gap between 2005 and 2009. I think Paramount knew what they were doing. Obviously, they had their plan. They always do. But during Enterprise and into 2009, the fan productions were keeping it going. You mentioned Hidden Frontier. Michael knows I am a massive fan of that production because they were doing it like clockwork. And you know, Nick, for their second and third seasons, they did 9 episodes. And then on, I think it was 4th and 5th, they were doing 6 every 2 months, like clockwork. And it was so well done. You were involved, and I'm going to get to you in a moment, Matt, forgive me. You were involved in probably one of the first real events, a crossover. You had a character that appeared on Hidden Frontier, and then later it was a straight up crossover. I don't know if it was Operation Beta Shield. That was the first. That was the first one. Okay.
We did 2.
Yes.
We did Orphans of War, which is just kind of like a 12-minute short. And then off the back of that, we did Beta Shield.
Okay. This is before the movie, after Enterprise. These are 2 productions. I don't know how many kilometers or miles apart.
5,500.
And it is a crossover. Stuff that we only see on TV or movies. And you guys did it. That was awesome, man.
You know, that was fun for us. And in the early days of what we were trying to do, I'd had a number of thoughts about trying to get one of the Hidden Frontier characters to appear in our first film. And I'd spoken to Rob about that, and he was very gracious about it. And I had 2 ideas. One of them involved Henglar and a medical problem, but I ended up going with the Shelby idea just because it worked more organically. And the medical idea was tied to another story that I didn't do, so it didn't really fit. But to give Risha Denny her due, I did not write that scene the way she played it.
Oh,
well,
yes.
In my head, I didn't write it the way she played it. Obviously, as an actor, that's the way she interpreted it. And funnily enough, that's one of the things I love about working with actors as a writer, because they inject stuff into your words that you didn't see. And that's quite exciting. But she brought something to that she brought a flirtiness to it that I definitely didn't envision in it. And we've played with that on and off ever since. And every time I've played scenes with her, it's always been a joy to play that stuff. And, you know, that paid off very nicely in Beta Shield, because we had some great scenes together in that.
Yes. Well, going back, Heavy Lies the Crown, correct?
Hi, Ross.
Yeah, it's Heavy Lies the Crown, right? That was the first episode.
Yeah.
She's in. I think she's in the first 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's great. I didn't get a chance to meet her. I was at the at the Hidden Frontier convention, the first one.
Bowl.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
And I didn't get a chance to meet her. I met almost everyone else. I believe she was in a rush, and you know, everyone wanted to talk to her. So it was cool. I had both of my daughters, my young ones, and I had my wife along with me. And my wife was like, she only speaks Spanish. She was there for about 5 minutes, and she said, like, I'm not going to mess this up. I'm just going to go to the car. She was very gracious about it, but she was there for a while. And I was getting everyone's autograph. I think I was messing everything up because they had a time for everything. Like, well, I'm not going to be here all day. So I started asking for autographs. I know I pissed off a few of them.
Nah.
But they were all gracious. They were cool. And on a personal note, it was funny when my daughter was right next to me, and I went straight up to JT and asked him, hey, I have an autograph for my daughter right here. The look he gave me, it's like, don't you know, dude, she wants the autograph. It was so funny. And he's been on our program as well. He's really cool.
He's a good guy. I just saw him and Adam at the barbecue a couple of weeks ago as well, so it's nice catching up with them.
Oh, heck yeah. And they've been on. I can't get Adam to be on. He just doesn't want to, but JT's done a few with us and a few others that are on. But going back to that, it was really awesome that you guys were able to do it. You did it twice. So actually maybe 3 times, right? Because Risha Denny was on your premiere episode.
Mm-hmm. And
as I said, you guys were really doing some stuff that was way ahead. It was one thing to do a program, but it was a crossover, and it was awesome. Back then, from 2003 to 2007, how many intended programs were there?
Oh,
There was,
I
it was like, what, 40?
I lost count. There were
was
quite
ridiculous.
a few that kind of started and did some test footage, and there's no criticism implied in any of that because these things are hard.
Yes.
And one of the things I would say is you need to kind of have one person. I think it often, maybe not always, but it helps if you've got multiple people. But you need at least one person who is determined to get this thing done, because it's very, very easy to start and not finish. And I mean, we've got films that we've started and aren't finished yet, and some of our films have taken years to finish because of problems. But you really kind of need to stick in there, and you need someone that's going to drive it. Because if you don't have someone that's going to push, it's not going to get on. Unfortunately, the person that pushes is often not always the most popular person. But I've generally managed not to piss too many people off, but I do occasionally get on Steve's nerves. I think. Well, actually, I don't think I know. I occasionally get on Steve's nerves. Generally, because I usually end up making more work for him, but he's doing less work since he moved from Dundee. So I think that's a weight off his shoulders a little bit, because I can't pick on him quite so much because he's not around.
Thank you, Mick. Before I go to Matt, folks, everyone watching us, why don't you let us know who you are and where you hail from? We'd love to know. We know Ross. Thank you, Ross. Dude, we should have Ross on with us too. But if he wants to join us, he's always more than welcome. Ross is out in Utah. He's closer to me than he is to anyone else. But Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the involvement, why you got involved, and what you do right now with, it is Starship Intrepid, right? Not Star Trek Intrepid. It's Starship Intrepid, right? Yes. Go ahead, Matt.
Actually, before we kind of came on to this, I was trying to think. I think we've been in contact 6 and a bit years.
Something like that.
It was actually, I just literally stumbled across a Facebook thing and the video popped up, and I was like, do you know what? This actually isn't that bad. Because I think, like everybody says,
that's faint praise there.
Well, I wasn't in it, so it was during that it was during that stage where we didn't have anything, and
wow,
I think that's me written out the next one anyway. So I was
kind of like this one.
Hey, no, we all have our insignias. We're good. We're all on the same team.
So I was kind of like, yeah, do you know what? I messaged you up and just went, do you know what? If you want anything, I'm available. I just moved to Dundee, I think, at the time anyway. And you kind of I think a couple of months after that, kind of sent a script through, and still waiting for that one to be filmed. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, came a message one day. Well, not out of the blue. We had been messaging backwards and forwards and trying various different things. And then this kind of script appeared, short notice. I know you've got short notice, but here, could you do this? And then that's me. I'm here now. What was it? I think a week's turnaround for me.
Oh, yeah.
By the time we started rehearsals, 2 nights rehearsals, and then kind of I was flying around trying to find a cape and everything, ended up looking like a Jedi. And I've never learned a script so quick in my life.
I've never learned a script in my life.
Yeah, well, I'm actually originally a stage actor, so I'm
lovely.
Are you? I never knew.
Yeah, I did stage.
Okay. Did you?
I did stage in my late teens and early 20s.
What happened?
I stopped doing it, and then I got back into it with this stuff, and actually much prefer video.
It's a faster
turnaround. As many takes as you like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to having to do 3-4 months of rehearsals and get it dead right every night, and then
I would love to do 3-4 months of rehearsals, but you've seen how hard it is for us to schedule even one shoot with people.
Yes,
and actually, been going on for 3-4 months.
That first script I sent you that remains unshot because one of the actors in it is not available.
I know, you keep saying, every time I bring it up, you go, that's because they're not available.
I may actually just rewrite the character, write her well, replace her with a different character. Because
We can get it done.
yeah.
But no, I think it's even with this one, you know, when you look back at what we're currently filming, well, that must have been like 3 years ago when we started, and I still remember sitting at the table read, and you're like, who are all these people?
Yeah,
you know, 'cause obviously I don't know anybody. The only person, well, apart from, I introduced a couple of people to you from people that I knew, but other than that, you know, I was completely.
Did you introduced us to Shona though, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yeah, you did, because you suggested her.
Yeah, we
and
traded
obviously,
actors actually at one point.
You've met David and Steve and
I have now.
Lucy and yeah.
So
you know people.
I think I've been lucky. I've not seen all the stress and everything. I just kind of swoop in, do the lines, and swoop off again.
Echoes, which is the film we're working on at the moment, which is the one you have read for, and you are in.
I am.
That one's been, I mean, that we started that just before COVID, and COVID shut us down for over a year. And then since then, one of our actors has moved away, and we're just struggling to schedule her at all. So that's kind of been in limbo for months, and for literally for the last 6 months, because we've expected to have this shot by the summer, and we've just not been able to schedule the lead actor at all.
All of a sudden, you get a message. It goes all quiet, and then all of a sudden, a message comes up, and you get like 2 nights of messages, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, we'll just wait."
Yeah, because what happens is we'll get a date, and then all of a sudden, no, can't do that date, and I'm like. So I don't know what's happening with that. I'm hoping we'll get some resolution for that tomorrow. If not, we may have to rethink it. In fact, we will be rethinking it if we don't get a resolution tomorrow, because we've no choice.
That's a shame. These are labors of love. And
it is.
Just,
and
you're sharing a little bit of the frustration that we rarely ever get to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't talk about it. It is frustrating because... You know, I'm very fond of this story, and we crowdfunded this film, so I feel a responsibility to get it made and make it well. So having it delayed is very frustrating, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way life is, but it's very frustrating, and it's a bit disheartening. So you know, yeah, but we'll get there in the end, one way or another.
And I don't think you're not the.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think you're the only fan film that has these issues.
No.
Well, it's interesting, but I was going to ask a question. Nick, is this the first crowdfunding one that you've done?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. I can see the pressure. Then
yeah.
All right.
And we didn't crowdfund a large sum of money. I mean, actually, I'll rephrase that. It's very much a matter of perspective. As you compare a lot of people's crowdfunders, we did not crowdfund a lot of money, but it's still a lot of. I mean, it's still a lot of money, and it's other people's money. So, you know, you want to deliver. You want to not let those people down because they've put a degree of trust in you, and they've put their money in you, and they've invested their money in you. That's a ridiculous level of trust. So there's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility, and at this point, it's like. And that makes it very difficult to be in the position of not being able to finish this at the moment. I will finish it, and I know I'll finish it. It's just not as quick as I want it to be or would like it to be, or actually it should be, because there's no reason why it should be taking us 2.5 years to make this film. But hey-ho. I mean, COVID's partly to blame, at least. So
yes.
But the delay gives Nick one of his favorite things to do, which is rewrite everything.
Well, you know, in my defense, I don't think this film really needs a lot of rewrites, but I've been doing rewrites to try and accommodate changing situations and other cast availability and stuff, which, you know, okay, this is not going to work. We can't shoot it this way. So let's rewrite this scene so we can work it this way. And I've had to rewrite for changing locations a couple of times because it's like, okay, if we're shooting in the summer, we can film here. Okay, we're now not going to be shooting in the summer, so we need to rewrite it to be an interior location, which is not as straightforward as it would sound. But we'll get there.
We will.
So, Matt, what did you mean by one of his favorite things on rewriting everything? There was some weight behind that comment. You want to go with that a little bit?
So go back to the one that's not yet been filmed at all. I think there's like version 3 or 4 of the script at one point.
Hey,
Just
good writers usually go through multiple drafts.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then I think, did we not actually? No, I'm trying to think. No, we had a rewrite for Pursuit of a Dream.
Probably.
I
probably went through a couple of drafts on that, but actually, it was remarkably few drafts of that one.
I think it was just the pure speed of it, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
on
our side anyway. But no, I definitely remember that there's, you kind of like I turned up to one shoot for Echoes with one script, and I'm like, okay, we're going from this page. I'm like, well, that's not on that page. It's like, oh no, there's another script. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. But
well, gentlemen, other than Ross's comment right there, sometimes you've seen it. Star Trek famously, for those of you that don't know, I'm sure all of us know that Star Trek, the 3rd season, Yesterday's Enterprise, that one is famously known for coming together quick and fast. There were very few rewrites on it. They knew what they wanted to do. They had a great story. They were thinking of holding it if they ever did a movie, but instead they did it. It was filmed in 12 days. It was done so well. And then you have other ones that take forever and still turn out well. So sometimes it works.
I think there's certainly a lesson in there, because I think Pursuit of a Dream is probably one of the best films we've made. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think one of those is, apart from the shitty actor over there, but
yeah, well,
yeah, this one, yeah.
Oh, stop it!
But I think a lot of factors came into that. I think Sam Cocking certainly made a difference. He did a very good job directing it, and he did a very good job shooting it. But I don't think that was the sole area. I think the collaboration between Sam and I think the speed of it had a lot to do. One of the things as an artist, I second guess myself a lot. And I'll write something and then I'll look at it and go, I think I should rewrite that. And maybe sometimes I don't need to. In my defense, though, I think the instance Matt's talking about was rewrites by necessity rather than desire. But yeah,
who knows?
But yeah, I think Pursuit of a Dream was kind of lightning in a bottle. I think whether we could ever recreate that, I don't know. But I think it was just a good story, and because it was very tight, and I think the performances actually carried it very well. I think everybody brought their A game to it. I think we were just in some ways lucky with it, because it was very rushed. But sometimes that's a good thing.
Sometimes the best things are. I always kind of go back and everybody says it's the actors that make the films and blah 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 blah, but there's always, from the first script I picked up of Nick's, there's always something about the way that he writes. There's these kind of really poetic moments that come out, and I'm not aiming for another part, but there's
just already got another part.
Well, there we go. There's just these moments that I think that without that, and that kind of goes back to in TNG and everything, where you're summing everything up. That last moment where the camera's pulling out of Picard's ready room, and he's just stood there in the window. Nick just has a fantastic way of doing that, and you're just like, wow, that actually is really good writing.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
Matt, I'm just curious. Are you referring to that episode at the end of the Best of Both Worlds? Where, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly the scene you're talking about, yes.
Which I believe, is it not a mirror of one of the scenes from Encounter at Farpoint?
Maybe.
You have me at a disadvantage on that one.
I think that I seem to remember. I've only ever seen Encounter twice, but I seem to remember a very similar shot.
I think one of the early scenes, you push it in Picard at a window. Yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah. That's good. I think we're going to have to play with some of that Star Trek history. Gentlemen, I want to change gears just a little bit, tiny bit political, but it was what you were talking about, Nick, earlier about the time. Actually, I don't know if we spoke to this on air or before. The time it took for the episodes to get to where you were in, the UK, Scotland, all that stuff. There was an episode, I think it was a matter of perspective. We all know that episode. But it was around that time.
The High Ground?
High Ground, yes, exactly. Where obviously we know what we're talking about. It was an uproar back home, right? What was...
No, really, no. I don't think there was any uproar here.
Wow.
I mean, it was the BBC
Only
that
here
said...
they claimed there was.
I don't remember. I mean, I could be wrong, but I recall no uproar. I mean, TNG was not that big a thing. I mean, it was shoved away on BBC Two in the evenings.
Yes.
And it was still a popular program, but I mean, we were years behind, and that was certainly one of the episodes that the BBC deemed not worthy of airing because
for that line,
Irish reunification of 20 something or other.
It might be this year, 2022. Wow,
might be actually. And I think I don't think that was that big a deal. And actually, I think
2024.
I think that is actually a very, very good episode, which I've always liked, and has a lot to say. And it does that whole.
Yes.
I mean, Matt was talking about the summing up at the end with Picard staring out the window kind of thing. It does that kind of thing very well, in that there's a message to this episode. It doesn't preach. It gets its balance very right. Mm-hmm. And I think the BBC made a mistake not letting that air. But I mean, I don't remember a lot of uproar about it. And I wasn't even watching it on the BBC. I was watching it on videotapes several years before that.
Friends with friends.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I mean, I don't remember a massive uproar. It was certainly banned, though, for a while. It's not banned anymore. But then also there's a couple episodes of the original series that was banned. The Empath was banned.
Yes.
Yep, because I can't remember the other one, but the Empath was banned because human beings in test tubes. Oh, really? Oh, Plato's Stepchildren, I think it was with the other one.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, which is like,
that's what I was thinking of. Yes.
What? Really? What about Plato's Stepchildren offends you? So. But I think that was getting to human experimentation or something again, or they didn't like people being, it was a bit arbitrary, to be honest. But I think we're kind of past those days to an extent. And I think a lot of that is because of the democratization of the internet and streaming services that actually that ain't going to happen anymore.
Mm. As a matter of fact, I apologize. I was a tiny bit distracted.
That's okay.
A comrade, well, I can't say comrade, but a young lady, Aisha, who's out there in England, she just sent me a comment saying, "Hey, did you get my Facebook comment?" And she says, "Admiral, the Romulans have crossed the neutral zone." Just saying this all. And she says, "I still have my TNG on VHS along with Voyager and TOS, and I still watch them video."
Yeah, I still have videotapes, but I don't watch them. In fact, actually, most of mine, if I remember, I got rid of my TNG, DS9, and Voyager videotapes. I kept my original series ones, but they are currently stored along with the video player in my mother-in-law's attic.
Nick, did you record them, or did you purchase them as part of the club?
I bought them. No, not as part of the club. I just bought them. Yeah. Because this is I never felt guilty getting tapes from the States, because when these things were available, I would go out and buy them.
Yeah.
And I'm the same with, my digital media now. If it's available, I buy it, Oh, it's on iTunes, I'll buy it. I'll buy a season. Maybe not so much at the moment because financial crisis and all that, but yeah.
Yeah, I do see that. Forgive me a moment. We have to do the we're gonna reach back there in a moment, Nick. I told Matt to get ready, so I said,
I had a videotape on the shelf, but I don't see it.
I actually ended up binning all of my videotapes, unfortunately.
And he had another sad story, which we're going to get to, but I have to make this quick announcement. Folks, if you're watching our program, if you are on a private Facebook page, we are unable to see your comments directly. We ask you to join us at facebook.com/NDB Media, or on our YouTube or twitch.tv/NDB Media. We can get all of your comments right there. We're starting to get a few others. But Aisha, you're on my personal page due to privacy issues. It doesn't carry over. So I thank everyone who is commenting already. Ross comments. He says, like to address real life issues in a sci-fi comment, but they weren't exactly subtle about it. No, they weren't.
They were not.
No.
You could say it's a terrible word. Some people are offended by woke. Star Trek in many ways was woke. As a matter of fact, Star Trek has always been woke.
I think one of the problems we have at the moment is that people's perspective of the environment that Star Trek was in the 60s is very different. The things that Star Trek was woke about in the 60s are things that are a non-issue to us. So people see it in the original series now and think, no. But actually, Star Trek got its fair share of flack about that. And I mean, even Private Little War, which was very much anti-Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And was not subtle about that at all. I mean, if we transplanted the situation we're in now to the 60s, watching these things, you would have a lot of the same outrage at some of the things that are being said there. The problem is Star Trek had a much smaller viewership, I think, in the 60s as well, compared to what we see now. Plus, we didn't have social media. Back in the 60s, people would have to write a letter to, vent their spleen at the studio or whatever, whereas now they just type on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So I don't think things have really changed that much. And I think without trying to, point out one side or the other, I think, the camps are still very much the same they probably were 50 years ago. Just everybody's got a louder voice because of social media.
Wow, Nick, I appreciate it. That is well said. I guess we're now into the Star Trek of today, where it is because of social media. Oh my goodness, there are people, I don't understand this, Nick. Alleged Star Trek fans will not watch it due to its wokeness, and I will not engage these fools. I don't want to. It's a waste of time. But they say, "Oh, I don't like the female captain, Michael Burnham." Michael Burnham. Okay, there's another thing. It's subtle, but I grew up I was 26 in 1995. Captain Catherine Janeway. I was enlightened. She was awesome. I had no problem with the female captain.
She was great.
Friends in my time, in the 90s, they didn't like that. I don't get that. And even today, and now we have some other issues. Michael and I talk about it. And I'm not going to say that Michael and I are enlightened, but we're watching the story because, well, it's kind of the joke that I've talked about. And I don't know if you guys get Orville over there or not.
We did.
But I've told the story ad infinitum ad absurdum. People ask me, "Hey, Raj, Star Trek fan that I am, which one do you like more, Orville or Discovery?" And my answer was, twice a week, my youngest daughter sits down to watch television with me. You tell me which one's better. She's watching it. She's enjoying it. I lost my mind in Star Trek Into Darkness. And my youngest daughter's like, "Oh my God, they're turning it." And you know what I'm talking about. She knew Spock is the one that bought it. She's watching the movie and she's like, "Oh my God, it's Kirk." Wow. That's what Star Trek does. And now it's doing it for them. What they did for us and did for our parents. And what is absolutely awesome. You guys get to do that now. You guys are a part of that story. And people are watching you because of what you do. And it is terribly exciting. And look there, Aisha is now joining us on one of the other pages. She says, "I watched the original series in 1967. So as far as Star Trek goes, I enjoy it. But the newest series, such as Picard, I haven't watched because I can't get them." Ah, okay. What is it for you up there in Scotland? Are those issues with Netflix or Paramount Plus?
Well, we've got Paramount Plus now, so
okay.
Just recently.
Picard and Lower Decks on Amazon Prime.
Oh yes.
So the rights are still kind of split here. It was quite frustrating when the whole Discovery thing was when Discovery came off Netflix here. That was a problem. But to be fair, I don't think that was a one-sided issue, and I think there was some mismanagement there were some mistakes made there. But at the end of the day, I think they did a pretty good effort at trying to make it available to us. It was available on Amazon if you bought it. It was available on iTunes if you bought it. And it was available for free every week on Pluto TV, which is a free streaming service. So actually, they accommodated us pretty well. And now, obviously, I'm assuming it will be on Paramount Plus.
It is.
But,
I watched it the other day.
yeah, but obviously next season, the new season will be on Paramount Plus. So for us, it's not a problem. But, and this applies to everybody in the US as well, if it's another streaming service you're having to pay for, I kind of get it. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm subscribed to like how many different streaming services. I'm lucky. I'm married. We have 2 incomes coming in, even though I work part-time, which is by choice. We've got a reasonable income between us. Our mortgage is not ridiculously high. Well, it has gone up, but as is our electricity bills. But at the moment, I can afford these streaming services. If that changes, it could be more of an issue. But I'm sympathetic to people that can't watch it. I get it. I realize that's annoying. And if I was in that position, I would probably be really disappointed and upset. But unfortunately, that's the reality of the environment we live in now. Everything's going streaming. We've gone from having multiple cable channels, multiple Sky channels, to now it's multiple streaming channels, which added up are probably costing us more than the cable channels did. But I don't know. I would love to ditch Netflix, but I don't know. I like Cobra Kai and I want to watch Cobra Kai, so it's like, God damn it!
Oh yeah, yeah, that is very popular over here. Now we were talking about my private little war, and there are others, but I think that's what this question is related to. Thank you, Aisha.
I'm not sure if I have a straight answer to that, and I don't know the behind the scenes on DS9 well enough to remember. I probably read this at some point. I would say it's just a general commentary on war itself, but and there are some very good war stories in there. The one that particularly jumps out is Siege of AR 558, which really is just about the pointlessness of war and what it does to people. And I think that's probably one of the best war stories Star Trek has ever done, to be honest. It really is a fantastic story. And I challenge anyone to come away from that and not be moved by it.
Yes.
So whether I don't know if I'd relate it to a particular war. I think there's a lot of general themes going on in there. And obviously, it's one particular group of people's perspective on war. I guess other people have other perspectives, but I think it's a perspective that Roddenberry probably would have agreed with, considering a private little war. And this was a man who fought in World War II. So I think that his perspectives were genuine. And I think, I'm sure some of the people involved in DS9 were ex-military. I know Ron Moore had been in the Navy at one point, I think.
I believe so, yes.
Yes. So, a particular war I wouldn't relate to, but it's a lot of commentary on war and what it does to people and why it's a bad thing, which I'm not sure any of us should be confused about the fact that it's a bad thing. But I guess there are people in the world that think wars are worth fighting. I guess sometimes they are, but it depends what you're fighting for. I guess sometimes they are, yeah.
Matt, let me ask you, sticking with DS9 for a moment, I'm sure you saw DS9, whether it was through reruns or first run.
First run.
Okay. What was your opinion of DS9? Because even today, it is still something that most mainstream fans avoid. And it's because of the war aspect. And it's all about story. George Lucas said special effects without a story is worthless. DS9 did what they're doing now. They actually had standalone episodes, but there was always a story going on. And it grew and grew and grew. My mouth kept dropping as the stakes kept going up in DS9. So knowing that, and I'll have several questions for both of you, but Matt, your opinion on DS9.
I think we've actually had this conversation, haven't we, Nick?
Oh yeah,
a while ago.
If it's
No. I think DS9 was the Star Trek that I came into.
Oh,
so yeah. Don't let looks fool you. I'm only I'm in my late 30s, so
I said young man.
I kind of caught the tail end of TNG, and then DS9 is like my track.
Oh wow.
And the going back to the beginning, I think the same feelings with everybody, sluggish and everything, but the stories that were coming out of it, and like you say, that overriding arch kind of at the end was just amazing and just completely blew me away. And that's what's held me with Star Trek kind of all the way through. My favorite episodes are obviously from DS9 as well, with the exception of one. I just think, now, what was it? Tears of Prophets?
That was the end of the 6th season, I believe.
When we lost Dax. And then the Sacrifice of Angels. I will never forget. Now, how do I kind of do this in a clean way? I was leaning over.
Oh, you're okay, buddy. You're all right. However,
I will never forget, as a teen, sitting in my mum's front room, leaning over the buffet. I was literally leaning over the buffet, watching this. I know it means two different things everywhere else, but just leaning over it, watching this, taking absolutely everything in, and going, "My God, do you know, this is just amazing." And
are you talking about in general, Sacrifice of Angels, or what? What was
Sacrifice of Angels was the episode I was clinging on to.
Okay, there's more. I want to talk to you guys about that. All right, go on, please.
But yeah, as a whole, DS9, I just found absolutely amazing. And then I was kind of lucky as well with DS9 coming in, and then the computer games coming in, and Bridge Commander and everything. And it just kind of ran with me with that. And it was just kind of, this is a universe that I want to be in.
Wow.
Which is really sad, isn't it, when you kind of come back to it?
Oh, okay, hold on. No.
Compared to our current universe, I don't think it's sad at all.
Yeah.
I think that's to other people that may not understand it. But look, the reason I mentioned this, Aisha says, is what do you think of the representation of Picard and Enterprise D in the anime Yusibu? Nobody seems to know about this. Do any of you know about it? I do not.
I'm afraid I don't either. But now you've got me curious.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have to do some homework on it. Aisha, I've known you for 10 years on the internet. You've never pulled that one on me. So I'm going to have to check that one out.
Good question.
Yes. So I think we're going to have to go back to that. I apologize. DS9 is my second favorite series. TOS is first. It edged out TNG because they told great stories. In the Pale Moonlight. We'll get to that one. All right. And then TNG was great, but the crew never had any real conflict between them. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. But
see, I'm going to briefly interject there. TNG is my favorite. I agree with the point about lack of I totally agree with the point about lack of conflict, but I actually don't care because I love that crew. And slight tangent, I grew up with the original series, and I was one of those guys in the late 80s when TNG was starting off that went, "You cannot do Star Trek without Kirk and Spock and McCoy. How dare you ruin my childhood!" And the first two episodes I saw were Naked Now and Code of Honor, and that pretty much enhanced that viewpoint. And then it wasn't until I started catching second season episodes, and I got into it. And by season 3, I was like, I love this show.
Oh my God, third season, in my humble opinion, is one of the best. I joked, third season was how we could assimilate. No pun intended.
Yeah, no.
Look, Yesterday's Enterprise. The Offspring, Who Watches the Watchers.
There is not an episode in season 3 I don't like, or in most cases, love. Who Watches the Watchers?
Wow.
The Defector.
Oh,
the Enemy.
My goodness, yes.
I mean, these are just Transfigurations, best of both worlds. Just amazing. So I am a TNG guy because I have an emotional connection to that cast, that crew, that show. And I've often said that I grew up with Kirk and Co., but I became an adult with Picard and Co. So they've had a lot of strong. So from an emotional reason, TNG is my show. But you could certainly argue that DS9 is the better show. I don't think it's better insofar as it's just different, but I don't think it's an unfair argument that's better. But TNG is my show.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily because it's a better show. It's just because I have a bigger emotional connection to it. But I love DS9. Absolutely adore DS9. And probably one of my... after Picard, one of my favorite characters, absolutely Kira. The journey she went through on that show is remarkable, and the Nard Visitor just kills it. She kills it. She's brilliant.
The storyline of everyone on DS9, they were fleshed out characters. You knew what an ending. But I want to go back. There are moments, obviously.
I took some of the tangent.
Stop with the sorries. This is all we're going to do all day. And Michael, you've got to jump in. But sticking with DS9, my jaw dropped. Oh my goodness, the episode at the end of the 5th season. Where they basically the shooting starts. Yes, okay, call to arms. At the very end, when Jake cuts in and he says, "We're going to teach them," this was a wrong thing for them to do. It was great. And when the Defiant and the Rotaran turn around and you see the fleet, my thing was, it's about time.
We still had the club going at that point, and I remember screening that in the function suite that we screened these things in, and everybody. I was like, it was great. It was phenomenal.
The whole thing that the Federation actually struck first at the Taurus 3 shipyards, and the scene of Cisco at the very end. Oh, the baseball, for me being a huge baseball fan. I loved it. What Ducat says. It's a message.
I have one of those somewhere.
He'll be back. There was so much in that episode, and we're ending the 5th season. And we're expecting about time, and what happens? Engage, retreat. Engage, retreat. They did it well. Let me tell you, and I would like Nick's opinion, but I knew back then that when Cisco says, "This is going to be our only chance. Galaxy Wings 9193, take them out. Everyone else, go." I knew that was the charge of the Light Brigade, because when you look back, the camera angle is so subtle, the fleet is going downhill, and it's going towards the enemy line. Look at it again, gentlemen. It is the charge of the Light Brigade. I mean, obviously, the poem was being said around them. But when they're charging through, and when the Klingons show up, my wife was with me, with my daughter, and she was asleep. And when the Klingons showed up, oh my God, I jumped for joy. That was like, it was so awesome. And my wife was, "Shh, you woke up our daughter." And I was like, sorry. That was one of the moments in Sacrifice of Angels for me, when they showed up and broke through the line. Oh, I know it's war.
Ross is right, though. They really did pick on the Mirandas.
Oh, I know, man. And we understand why. They wanted to differentiate it from Voyager, where they only had certain classes of ships. But yes, that was my moment in Sacrifice of Angels.
Oh no, that was a great moment, and I had explained
for you.
The other moment like that was in the finale, when the Cardassians changed sides. That was amazing. Same experience. It's like, oh my God, this is incredible. It was just such a major. It's just one of those moments. It was great.
Michael, we haven't had a chance to hit DS9 in these conversations. Some of your thoughts? I mean, there's more in DS9, and we'll get to that. And we'll get back to Starship Intrepid. But Michael, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, DS9 is not one of my favorites. I didn't see the last 3 seasons till just a few years ago. So there you go. And there is reasons, because I could not look at it on a regular basis.
Oh.
And since it did have that arc storyline at that time, it was very difficult for me to keep up, and I just stopped. So
you had to watch it. Yes.
Yeah, and I've watched it since, but at the time it was not my favorite because I couldn't follow a storyline. So I was taking care of my parents, and I did not have the time to sit down on a regular basis and watch things, because I had to watch things my mother liked or she'd get mad. And at the end, she watched Star Trek with me, the original series, when I was young, but when she was older, she did not want to see sci-fi, and she got mad if I was looking at sci-fi. So I had to turn it to something else. So
DS9 was absolutely, what an ending to the series. In my humble opinion, it closed. Look, yes, there were tiny little things that were unanswered, but what an end to a series in what you leave behind. It was truly an ending. The Enterprise episode, I don't know if you gentlemen know this, but
yeah.
there were three primary storylines, and I've told this to Michael because I read one of the books where they were talking about that there were supposed to be four storylines. Apparently, the best of both worlds were also involved, and it was when they were going through the rewrite. Patrick Stewart himself said, "What are you doing? Why did you remove this part from the final story?" But look at how huge that story was in and of itself. Do you imagine a fourth storyline? That was crazy. But I would have loved to have gone back to Best of Both Worlds. But when it comes to programs, for me, it was Voyager. Because Michael and I think, Matt, you said you started in with DS9. I was a young man working. I was able to watch Voyager from day one at a normal hour. And it was like my first, I saw all of Star Trek, but I was able to sit down at home and watch it through. So for me, Voyager had that connection. But Enterprise came around. Nick, what are your thoughts on Enterprise?
I was not a huge fan of the whole prequel idea, but I enjoyed Enterprise. I definitely think by kind of like, I think season 2 was a definite weak spot for Enterprise, but season 3 and 4, season 4 particularly is phenomenal, and I was really
Carbon Creek.
Yeah, the fact that we didn't get a 5th season was really a shame because they'd hit their stride. They knew what kind of stories they should be telling or wanted to tell. And I don't think any of this. Yeah.
The 5th season, allegedly.
Yeah, I think if they'd gotten even one more season, I think we would have got a lot of really cool stuff for them. So I'm sad it ended when it did. It's not too late to bring them back for a reunion.
Yeah.
Follow up. I'd love to see it.
Matt, your thoughts on Enterprise?
Oh
wow. Okay, it's good.
Do you know what? I was obviously looking forward to it when it came out, but I seem to remember when we heard that Voyager had ended and everything, and we were getting another Star Trek, and they'd floated the idea of the Starfleet Academy one. I think I was more wanting that than Enterprise, so I actually didn't watch Enterprise. Well, no, that's not fair. I did watch it to start with, and then kind of didn't watch it. But I think now I've kind of done a couple of rewatches on it on Netflix. So I think as an older adult, I've enjoyed it more than when I did when I was younger. But I wonder if that's because we went back to the prequel and everything. But yeah, I
was against. I will admit. Don't get me wrong. I watched it from day one. And then remember, it premiered right after 9/11. So it was loaded with emotion. And, okay, I won't get into the political comment here, other than it happened right after. I think it was like September 17th. It was days after 9/11.
I think the pilot was very strong.
Oh, yeah.
I think they came out the gate with a very strong pilot. And then after the pilot, they just kind of went...
Yeah.
Well, for me, it didn't have the punch that everything else had.
I think people talk about franchise fatigue a lot, and I don't think that was necessarily a problem for the show. I think the problem was the writers were fatigued and didn't know what to do with it, or if they did know what to do, because the studio wanted a slightly different show. I think they found it very difficult to find the right balance in what they were doing, and they did find it by season 3 is a bit controversial, I guess, but I thought they did a reasonable job in season 3. Season 4, they knew exactly what the show should be and what it could be, and they nailed that. And I think the change in management helped. I think Manny Koto brought a very, very fresh set of eyes to that, and I think that's what they needed at that point. Because if you think about it, Berman and Braga had been working on these shows non-stop for years.
Yeah, Braga showed up. I think he was either in the 3rd season as an intern or 4th.
Yeah,
and of course, Rick Berman was already there from the 1st season, but he didn't take control. I think officially the 2nd. But
no,
it is 18 years. Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
So I think the break was. I mean, they were producing 26 episodes a year. That's a lot of pressure, and a lot of pressure to come up with new. I mean, I've made what. a dozen short films in 13 years, and I struggle coming up with ideas sometimes. So I can only imagine how difficult it is to be fresh and new and do something to keep people interested. And I think fresh eyes sometimes are the way to go. And I agree with Aisha. Enterprise was a lost opportunity. There's so much more they could have done after season 4 that they never got to do. And some of the stories they were bandying about were really interesting. I would love to have seen them. You know, it was turning into a real prequel to original series, which I guess we're kind of getting now with Strange New Worlds. But Enterprise was trying to do it, you know,
Aisha had a
more than
comment
15 years
earlier
ago.
that she was unhappy with the ending, and I was as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, I think most of us were. I don't know how Matt would feel has to say about it, but
He didn't
I
want
never
it.
liked it. I never liked it.
I found it very difficult in that I understand exactly what they were trying to do with that, and I admire what they were trying to do. They were trying to wrap up this 20 years of their era of Star Trek in this one episode, and I think the problem was that was the way they went about it was a huge mistake, and they should have made the last episode 3 parts and bound it together. And actually, I think incorporating TNG characters into it wasn't a bad idea, but the way they went about it was wrong. I think, firstly, they messed about with the Pegasus, and it's like went and turned Riker into an idiot. Because it's like, wait a minute, Riker has to go off to the holodeck to play with Captain Archer to decide if she'd tell Picard the truth. Why? That makes no sense. They should have tied it into Nemesis and have made it around the does Riker want to finally be captain argument. And they could have set those scenes on the Enterprise E, and it could have been around, could still been about the founding of the Federation, not kill Trip off in a stupid subplot, which I don't have a problem with them killing Trip off. They did it badly.
It was done badly.
Yeah. So the first mistake, not making it just pre-Nemesis, with Riker making the decision to be captain, and you could have had it on the Enterprise E, but they should have made it more of a subplot. I don't know, and then your focus could have been more prominently on the Enterprise characters and the foundation of the Federation, and it should have been 2 hours instead of 45 minutes. They should have been a double episode.
Yeah, Jamal Epsikokin, and I always give him a shout out when it comes to reviews, folks. If you ever want to. This is probably the premier reviewer. And I know he doesn't watch this, but it's jammersreviews.com. Oh, you know who he is.
I remember
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. He really knows what he's doing. And,
he's been doing this a long time.
And he's still doing the reviews now. And I appreciate his opinion. And he really ripped the episode we're talking about. I hear myself in background. Sorry. My voice is annoying enough as it is. Okay, thank you. Someone fixed it. The finale seemed like a rush afterthought. Jammer talks about that. He said this was a big FU to the fans on that episode. He was pissed.
See, I don't think it was an FU to the fans because I think they genuinely thought they were doing something to serve fandom with this. I think they just misjudged it. It was I think it was poorly conceived. The idea itself is not a bad one. I just think the execution of it was bad. And I think even Braga these days said, "Yeah, we kind of screwed that one up." I think he's quite upfront about it.
Yeah, if you listen to Brandon Braga and Ron Moore on their commentary of First Contact, it's rather enlightening. The audio commentary, and they talk about, you know what, we blew it here, whatever. And First Contact, it's a lot of fun.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. Matt, your opinion on First Contact?
Sorry? Yeah, no, First Contact was my movie.
Wow.
Interestingly, I think First Contact is better than Generations.
Yes.
Generations looks better.
How so?
There's just
you're a David Carson fan.
Yeah, there's just something about I love Frakes as a director, but there's something about the way Generations looks and feels that actually I like that. And Insurrection. First Contact looks great, but I kind of like the way Generations looks even more. Maybe it's the Enterprise D. I don't know.
Maybe. I would disagree because I think First Contact just just set it out, and from then the second that the the Sovereign class arrived.
Oh, don't get me wrong. It is by far the best TNG movie, hands down. But there's something about Generations and the way it looks that I really like. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it.
I think I quite liked the tie-in with Best of Both Worlds and everything, and we saw the concluding of Picard and Locutus and what have you, and obviously assimilate this. But no, I think First Contact for me is an absolutely fantastic film. Although Insurrection, as you mentioned, is actually my favorite Trek.
I really like Insurrection. Actually, I've got a huge soft spot for Insurrection.
Tiny bit of trivia, as you know, we interviewed. Oh my goodness, now I'm forgetting his name. He co-wrote Yesterday's Enterprise.
I know who you mean.
Yeah, he's been on with us, and he revealed. Maybe statute of limitations haven't passed on that one. It was on our program where he gave the book as a gift to people, and then immediately the family was like, nope, couldn't do it. But it was on. I don't know which one of the Monday nights in America, but I apologize, I don't remember his name right now. He was on with us, and he talked about Insurrection and the whole process, and he had the manuscript because nothing had been done. Paramount didn't want the manuscript out. But they didn't own it, so it was released, and I believe now TrekCore has it. But it was on our program where it made its light of the day.
Interestingly, well, maybe not interestingly, but small trivia. It's like we did a road trip up to Yosemite years. Oh God!
Oh, sweet!
12 years ago, with some of the Hidden Frontier guys, Rob Caves and co, and we stopped at Convict Lake, which was where the holoship was hidden.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a great
that's
spot.
Way up there, Nick.
Yeah, it is a great spot. Yeah, I agree. The human insurrection was more missed and less hit for sure. Yeah.
I believe that was related to First Contact.
I agree.
Had Data delivered Assimilate This, the audience would have lost it. Because every time I saw that movie on opening day, no one really got all excited. But yet, Data says, oh, in the Generations, the audience loses.
He has always been a popular character for people, and I get it. He was the Spock, and everybody loved him. Everybody still loved him.
I do admit that when I was watching Generations, it was a theater, and I was somewhere up where the Enterprise is careening towards the surface, and Data says what he does. I put my head down because that's exactly what it felt like. It was one of the better lines.
I was gutted when they blew up the Enterprise D. Also, it was like, why are they that incompetent today? Oh, power of plot.
Now, I've spoken to Michael about this because I teared up when Kirk blew up the Enterprise in Star Trek 3. So in Generations, when the Enterprise landed on the surface, my thing was like, wow, that's what it was designed for.
I was sad to see the Enterprise D go. I like the E a lot, but the D's kind of home.
Were they not supposed to be bringing the D back for First Contact, though?
There was some...
that's interesting because their studio instructions were to destroy it.
Yeah, but there is a... there was some debate about it because there are photos of the saucer being relabeled 1701E from storage. So I think there was... which I think was as a just in case they wanted to make it another Galaxy class. I don't know why, but there are definitely photos out there with the studio model with 1701E on it. It's in a box. Something, yeah. I don't know what the whole story about that is.
Had you heard that one? I had not heard.
I had not heard that one. No,
I've seen the photos.
Oh, I believe.
Yeah. No. I know. I don't know what the whole story of it is. Yeah,
it might have been a concept that they were going to do, and it just didn't happen. You just never know. Maybe Ross knows.
Yeah, I mean, Ross is right, and I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday. Actually, the first Star Trek movie I ever saw in the cinema was Star Trek 3, and the destruction of the Enterprise really hit me. It was like, holy shit, it really did hit me. Yeah,
me too.
and just to reply to Aisha, I don't know if Star Trek is the best movie for me, but it's certainly in my favorites, definitely. I really do enjoy that movie a lot. And certainly as mainstream movies go, it is arguably the most mainstream of the Star Trek movies.
It's a lot of fun. It
Oh, it's a lot
genuinely
of fun.
is.
Well, I just saw the remastered motion picture at the cinema last night, which was interesting. I've never seen it on a big screen, so that was fun to see.
Oh, the original movie, the motion picture?
Yep.
Wow.
It's playing in the cinemas here just now for a limited time, just for a few days. So I went to watch it last night.
That is cool. I have not seen the remastered. Of course, I saw. I was responsible for a lot of that $40 million tape back in 1979.
Oh,
I was chaperoning my older sister. She was going on a date. They were in the van, and my thing is, well, you ain't gonna watch the movie anyway. So little did I know, I was naive back then. All I know is, what the hell? You're not gonna watch the movie? So in the summer of it was early in 1980, and I saw that movie maybe 20 times in the theater on a drive-in on Saturday night, just because they weren't going to watch the movie. I wanted to watch what I was going to watch, and yeah, I donated a lot to that movie.
I like that movie, and I have quite a soft spot for it, but definitely I would certainly be tempted to. It is indeed, Ross. It's up in a couple of weeks here as well. I would definitely be tempted to trim down the long flyovers inside Vija, because they're like go on way too long. The fly around the Enterprise at the start, that needs to stay, because that's there for a strong reason. The big fly arounds of the interior of Vija, I'm kind of like, this is about 5 minutes too long.
Yeah, and I think back then they just wanted to show what they could do with CGI, because there hadn't been anything like that in Star Trek before, and they just wanted to show things off. And yeah, it lasted a lot. I felt it was more than 5 minutes too long. Personally.
Well, remember, gentlemen, there was no final script.
No, that's true. They had lots of trouble. So
yeah, there's a lot of interesting documentaries about that. Actually, although one thing I noticed last night that and I'm pretty sure this is the same version that was released as a director's cut about 10 years or so ago, but they've just remastered. I'm sure and I didn't notice this when I watched that version, but I feel like they've added a couple of Spock's lines back into the sickbay scene where he's talking about melding with Vija, and I was like, I don't remember seeing that ever before. So I don't know if it's something I've just forgotten from watching the director's edition, or whether it's always been there, but it's like, I really don't remember that. But I can't remember what the lines were, but I'm thinking, oh yeah, that seems like they've added to that. And it was a positive change. It was like, okay, that's actually, you've added a bit more character to this scene. I like that. But that was often the thing motion picture was lacking. There's bits and pieces of that characterization in there, but it is in a lot of ways lacking a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I still like the movie.
I do too. But it ran against so many problems. It's just they didn't have the script. They had deadlines. You know the story that Gene Roddenberry flew to Washington D.C. with the movie under his seat. The real. Yeah. That's crazy. That's what went to the debut in Washington on December 7th, I believe it was. That's crazy. And but those are amazing stories. I'm sure you guys can regale us with some stories on that stuff. But before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful Saturday morning, evening over in Scotland. We're having a wonderful conversation. We are talking Star Trek with gentlemen that are truly involved in making their own Star Trek. And yes, we definitely got sidetracked on some of the other Star Trek, but Starship Intrepid. Oh no, it's and Matt, I know you have an engagement. We're on your time, and Nick, we're on your time too. You guys are probably too polite to say we're done, but no, we're on your time. I want to get back to Starship Intrepid, but I do acknowledge, Matt, that you might be needing to go. And if you do, just tell us. I've had it with you. I'm out. I've had that.
He says that to me all the time. So yeah, I'm sure.
I just love talking to you. Actually,
it's the profile, gentlemen. Starship Intrepid. You guys have some episodes that you've been doing now. Officially, you started, as you said, in 2003. Your first endeavor was what, 2007?
Yeah,
and you've gotten one out. What, about one every year or so?
Sometimes there's been longer gaps between it, but yeah.
Sure.
we tried to do
Well,
that.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
Actually, you had some that were closer together than less than a year.
Yeah.
Because if you consider COVID.
We released 2 last year. One of those we'd first
wow.
started filming in 2014 and just had problems with. And I ended up rewriting that in post-production to try and fix some of the issues we had with it.
See, I
the
told
other
you
one
he
we
liked
shot-
rewriting.
Hmm?
I told you he liked rewriting.
Well, it's often by necessity rather than choice. But yeah, it was fine. So that got finished largely thanks to Sam Cockings, actually, and he'd offered to help on some stuff. And when he
Wow.
came in and started doing visual effects for us, it really did re-energize things. So I was a bit burnt out, to be honest. And this particular film, it was Dissonant Minds, I was really sick of because we'd had so many problems with it, and I just wasn't sure it was salvageable. But we did salvage it, and it took some serious rewriting in the edit. But you know, it's not an amazing film, but it holds together. And then we did Treasure for the Ages, which you're not in, Matt, but I wish you had been, actually, because I think you were doing quite a bonus to it. And I'm actually really, really happy with the way Treasure for the Ages worked out, which was the second film I think Sam did visual effects. So Sam does indeed do amazing effects. And then we did Pursuit of a Dream last year with Matt, who really did knock it out of the park. And I think his performance in that really does carry that film a lot of the way, because he's a consistent theme throughout that film. And as I was saying earlier, I think that particular film was kind of a high point for us, and very much lightning in a bottle. Whether we can, I don't know, bring our A game to that again, I don't know, but we'll certainly try. We have a few things in the pipeline.
Nick, Matt, you guys are the longest running internet production now, right?
Well, I think that's
video.
I think that's debatable, because Farragut's back in production.
Okay, continuous. Let's say it that way. And no shot against Farragut. They're our friends. They've been on with us. But I guess
I used to be with them.
Yeah, you
still are. Cut it out.
I'm a huge fan of the work they do, because they're actually a really great team, and they're just a very generous group of guys. Actually, we worked with them on Polaris, which we spoke a lot about earlier.
So it did still come up.
But yeah, I mean, they're a great team. So I mean, there's a few, and I know Rob Caves is dipping his toes back into things slowly. When we were over earlier in the month and visiting, he did show me a preview of his motion comic.
Okay. Hey.
So Rob is doing a Hidden Frontier motion comic, and hopefully going to bounce off from that to doing a reunion.
Wow.
Which he has spoken about publicly, so I'm not spoiling anything here.
Right.
He's talked about it in the Hidden Frontier Facebook group, but it was interesting to see some of these characters, and I'm even in it. I have a bit in it. If he does the full-on reunion, I'm in it rather more, actually. And there's certainly some play off of the Hunter Shelby stuff in that script. But yeah, I mean, this kind of reunion motion comic is kind of fun, interesting to see. He's definitely taking it in an interesting direction, and he's very much embracing the fact that actually Hidden Frontier is its own thing, in its own little pocket universe kind of thing, much like Avalon have done with their fan films. So I'm really interested to see where he's going with all that. And I mean, I've read a lot of his relaunch scripts, but there's a lot. I haven't seen the most recent versions, so it's been a few months since I've read any. But it's like he's got some pretty interesting ideas. So I really want to see him do it, but whether he'll be able to do that, we'll see. A lot of things have to come together for him to be able to do it.
Yes, but he's done it before, and it is absolutely awesome. Look, I'm a fan. I've been fortunate to have met and spoken to some of them. I've talked about Hidden Frontier because Hidden Frontier did what you guys did, what Farragut did, and Exeter. Okay, Exeter, I believe, in my humble opinion, Exeter is here, and everyone else that, yes, without Exeter.
I mean, Exeter.
Wow.
I've said this to Rob's before, and I've said this to other people, so it'll not come as any surprise. It'll not take it as an insult. But when I first watched in Frontier, I watched it through a very different mindset, and I was like, okay, it's cool that they're doing this, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And I didn't really get fan films until I watched Savage Empire, which is Exeter's first one. I went, I can do that. And it's debatable whether I can do that, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. But watching Exeter, I went back to watch Hidden Frontier and went, you know what? Actually, these guys are onto something, and what they're doing is actually good. It's good. I'm enjoying it. But I watched, I think it was their first episode, and I just didn't get into it. And I was like, and the green screen just didn't work for me. I was like, no, I don't get. No, and I dismissed it out of hand. And it took me going back to much with TNG, to be honest. I mean, I didn't get into TNG at the start, and the same with Hidden Frontier. And I went back to watch it with a fresh eye and stuck in. I was like, you know what these guys are doing is great. Really admire what they're doing. And yeah, and I've said that to Rob before. It's like, yeah, I wasn't that into it at first. But yeah, I mean, what they've done is phenomenal, and they really were the trailblazers for the modern Star Trek fan film communities. I mean, they were doing this stuff as far back as the late 90s. Angeles movies.
Hidden Frontier, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they did it through their club.
Yeah,
their fan club, The Adventures of the Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, they were trailblazers, and really, all of us that are doing this stuff, and I don't think Rob gets a lot of the credit for this, to be honest, but all of us who are doing this stuff now, everybody goes on about phase 2 and continues and all that, and the stuff these guys have done is great. I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to diminish their contributions, but we are all building off the back of the stuff that Rob Caves did in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was there doing this publicly and put it on the internet before the rest of us were. So yeah, I mean, I've got huge respect for Rob Caves, and he is a humble guy. He's not like a lot of the rest of us guys that make these things that, want to put the uniforms on and, shoot phasers and stuff like that. He is not that guy. He just enjoys making the films and playing in the sandbox. He's not interested in being in them. He's not interested in, being the star. He likes playing.
Although he is in 1 or 2 episodes. He is a helmsman in one, I believe.
He occasionally cameos, but he's not. That's not who he is. So, I mean, I've got an immense amount of respect for Rob Caves.
I do. Michael, don't I mention Hidden Frontier all the time?
Yeah, I think in most fan film circles, Rob deserves a lot more credit. And I think he does get a fair amount of credit, but I think he deserves a lot more, because I don't think I would be here doing what I'm doing now without Rob Caves.
Yeah.
Honestly. But the two I most credit are Rob and Exeter, the Johnson brothers. Those are the two groups. I'd say the 3 people that very much had kind of inspired me and pushed me into doing this stuff. And lots of people have supported me since. I mean, James Corley's always been very supportive. The guys from Farragut have always been supportive when I've spoken to them. To be honest, there's not been anybody in the fan film community that I've interacted with that have not been supportive. So I think it's a great community.
I'm sorry.
No,
I just want to add, Hidden Frontier proved it could be done on a regular basis. I mean, it was awesome. Exeter said, wait a minute, we can still do classic Trek. That was their argument, and what a way of doing it. Matt, what was your impression when you saw Exeter Trek? I mean, wow, dude. First of all, their own characters. That's why I love you guys. Your own characters. And Hidden Frontier had its own characters, but they also had some of the original series, and that wasn't a shot. And it's not a shot against them. They had their own creativity. You guys have it. Farragut has it, and many others, where they use their own characters. Exeter had it. Matt, I keep interrupting you, buddy. And we will answer this question.
I think Nick had a little grin because I'm obviously about to make a big admission. I've never actually seen it.
Okay.
I am going to send you the file. I have MP4s. I'm going to send them to you and make you watch them.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Sorry, my lights.
Exeter
decided to-
Trek is, oh my God, it is us being able to do it, right, Nick? And it's
Oh, yeah.
TOS. It's not, you know, they said,
tell you-
wait a minute, you can do TOS today.
One of the things that was very inspirational to me, and I watched this over and over in the early days, was the Exeter guys, the Johnson brothers, did a making of video. And they sent it out. You know, you could get it from them, and I got a copy of the making of video. They were selling it, I think it was $10 or something like that. And I got a copy. I watched that thing over and over and over again because it really was. I mean, it wasn't a blueprint and a how-to guide, but it was just really inspired me to actually get out and do this stuff a lot. So I watched that a lot, and that really did. That pushed me a lot. That and talking to Rob, because Rob was like a font of knowledge and a font of support, and Rob was always very supportive. But yeah, the Exeter guys really, they did something that really kickstarted, and they were the first ones to really go viral with the fan film.
Yes. And then you get the inspiration phase 2. You get Farragut. Star Trek continues. And Potemkin Pictures today. What they're doing as well.
And I have to say,
Dreadnought Dominion. Forgive me. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I actually, I've got to say, I really love what Dominion have been doing with their project Runabout, to be honest, because I think that's a fun project. But Randy and Potemkin are really doing some interesting things, actually. And I mean, not everybody's going to appreciate what Randy's films are doing. Not everybody's going to appreciate what my films are doing. But I think Potemkin's taking some really interesting risks with some of the things they're doing. The most recent film where they did the film from the aspect of both sides. And I mean, that's not an original concept, I guess, but I don't think anybody's really done that in Star Trek fan films. Excuse me.
Wait till you see the next surprise.
Oh,
sorry?
hey, producer! Now, let's share your connection.
But it's a really interesting idea, showing this from the side of
Michael. Get Randy to show his face for a minute.
Randy is
still on vacation.
No, he's back. He's rebuilding the shuttle coop right now. And he's got people out filming today too. So
I apologize. Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, Randy might have stuck his nose in.
No, he usually does.
Randy does such a broad types of films that if you don't like one of Randy's films, there's likely to be another one. There's one that he did quite a few years ago now. I think it was called Shore Leave. And it was this, and it's just, they shot it at a convention, and it's like 3 characters in a bed, and it's just insane. But it's like, I've watched it multiple times. It's great. It's funny. It entertains me. And I mean, there's a Klingon singing opera, and there's Marcus from Babylon 5 in it, and it's just like
Eric Watts,
yeah. It's like, this is actually fun. I enjoy, and
he filmed that at a convention, and had it ready at the end of the convention.
Oh wow!
But you know what? It's a fun little film, and I'm telling you, I have watched this film multiple times because I enjoy it. Yeah. So that's the thing. Randy does all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And like I say, if you don't like one of his films, check a few more out, because you may find one that actually you think is really fun.
Well, what does he have?
And that's really fun.
Yeah. He has, 6 going right now?
Oh, God, yeah. I have to say, it's like Randy has certainly inspired me to think about doing spin-offs.
Oh, yeah.
I've thought about it.
And we've had Randy on. He is a friend of our program as well, and we love having him on. Oh my goodness, Dreadnought Dominion. Oh, Mr. Parker. He may have become, and if he's watching, Frank, get in here.
He's at a party.
Oh, they have lives as well. What the hell are you doing, Michael?
I'm really enjoying Dreadnought Dominion stuff at the moment. I mean, the most recent film was a lot of fun, and their first Project Runabout film was really fun. I mean, it's basically just a music video, but it's like, this is great. It's very rewatchable, and actually the music was good too.
I just saw your first episode again, and I have to tell you, that seeing it again, I had to watch it through the eyes of when I saw it the first time around. I said, "Nah, man. Look, it's obvious it's older. I know technology has gotten better, but it's all about the story." And I thought back then you guys had the story, and you have it now, man. And it is really well done. You were setting up a universe. I thought it was like the 7th series of New Earth, of the original series of Star Trek. Yes. Now, people say, no, it was 6. No, actually, there was 7. There was another book where they did, it was like the portal, and there was a continuation. There was a 7th book in the series, and that was it. I thought that was awesome, but I thought that was your series. I said, oh, man, someone's doing New Earth. And for those of you that know and don't know, New Earth is novels 89, 90, and something in the original series run. It's a really good series. I thought that's what you guys...
It wasn't intentional, but I do have... I don't think I read all of the books in that series, but I certainly read the first 3 or 4.
That's the vibe I was getting from you guys. And it wasn't copied.
No.
It was your own
I don't think
story.
It was a conscious... I don't think it was a conscious thing, but I definitely say that's kind of the vibe we were going for. I don't think we ever really fully explored that to the extent that I intended to. Because, multiple reasons.
The New Earth was... They weren't even a part of the Federation. For those that remember, and I know I'm spoiling some of the stories, and I apologize, Matt. We're really getting hardcore on some of the novels. But the whole New Earth series, it was something creative where they had like 6 different authors. No, she did the first and she did the last book, and I forget her name. We had her on, too.
Diane Carey.
Yes, we had her on. She was a lot of fun. But the whole series was a bunch of citizens had it with the Federation, and they were going to form their own colony. And there was it was 50, 60,000 people. The Federation was like, well, we can't let that many Federation citizens go on their own. James Kirk is going to go and represent and be the meat of our protection. But Kirk isn't there for the whole thing. Eventually, you got to leave him alone. And that was the whole point of New Earth.
Of course,
which it didn't
Challenger. It's Challenger.
Very good. That was the book I was talking about. That was the 7th book. The Challenger, yes. And it's a shame that it didn't continue.
Because they built the Challenger from a ship that was wrecked, didn't they?
Yes. So you did read.
I did read. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that, actually.
All right. That is hardcore stuff. That is really going back.
Well, I used to read all the books back in the day because there wasn't much else. We didn't have streaming. We didn't have digital downloads. We didn't have any of that stuff.
Did you see Renegades?
I did.
Matt, did you see Renegades? It was a one-off.
I thought there was a sequel to it.
There is. It was a Star Trek sequel.
Yeah, I apologize. Under the name Renegades, it was its own, right. But there was another one. Yes, I forget. I know we had Walter Koenig on with us discussing that, and there was another movie that I'm sorry.
I was a donor. I've got a digital copy. If you want to see it, Matt, I can send it to you.
Star Trek Renegades, yes, and
I've seen some of Renegades.
Okay, so Aisha's asking, what are your thoughts of it? There's a lot of big name talent.
It was not for me.
No, I would agree.
Yeah,
I think. Did it? Was it? What I got from it was quite slow and quite. Be tactful. I don't know how to be tactful.
No, Matt, go ahead and go ahead. Seriously, just share your thoughts, man. It's not good. It's not bad.
I just found it was just like. Well, what was the other one? Gods of Men?
Oh, Ogan. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
And I just felt like it was done to try and get certain actors that had kind of not distanced from Trek or anything, but, to give them a second chance at doing Trek again.
Wasn't Of Gods and Men the sequel to Renegades?
No, Ogan came first.
Yeah.
I apologize. Okay, so... Because I know the Renegade Studios.
They were actually the only
they had to change the name
between them is Ragnar appears in both, which is Gary Graham's character.
Yes.
See, I have watched them.
Even as so have I. Now, Walter Koenig was talking that Renegade Studios also created another movie, which we talked about that in the interview. I saw it, and it was Yeah, I
Not
forget now.
Ominara.
What was that?
Is that the one called Ominara?
Yeah, because is that not his daughter?
No
Oh
idea.
my goodness!
I haven't seen that one.
wonder.
I've
I'm
seen
forgetting right now.
I've seen the original Renegades and I've seen the sequel because they crowdfunded. I donated to both of them.
And they delivered.
They did deliver, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't want
During
to
the
criticize what they've done
process, that was not a
because
shot against you guys.
I don't
During
want
the
to criticize.
process.
Oh no, absolutely. I don't want to criticize them because not every story is for every person, and for me, it wasn't the kind of storytelling that I was particularly engaged in. Lots of people loved it. That's great. Yeah, it just wasn't for
I'm trying
me.
to remember who else it was. But yes, Star Trek Renegades. Yeah, I know. I hear you, Nick. Matt, if you ever get a chance to see it, it's out there. It's part of the Star Trek lore. There's so many big names in it.
They had some great people working on it, and the prop work was Scott Nakada's, and it was awesome. There was awesome prop work in those films. In fact, I've got one of Scott Nakada's pistols around here somewhere. He does amazing work. So there's a lot of stuff in Renegades to actually really enjoy. It's just, yeah. I didn't find it very rewatchable, but like you say, that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those people. I put it on. If it doesn't grab you in the first the first couple of minutes, it goes off.
Oh,
that's
so you were part of the younger generation, young man. We devoted years to series before we would get rid of it.
I have to say, in Renegade's defense, I did watch it through. I wouldn't say I didn't get anything out of it because I appreciate it for what it was, but I would much rather watch Savage Empire than Renegades. But on the flip side, I know there's a lot of people out there that would much rather watch Renegades than Savage Empire. So, that's just my personal opinion, and it's not a criticism one way or the other. I just enjoy different things.
Yeah, I hear you. Aisha says that she would do the fan fiction sim.
I have done that myself in the past. I simmed on. I used to do tabletop role playing with Star Trek for years and years, and some of the characters we use are characters from that RPG. But I also did online simming for a couple of years. I was started off as a first officer on a ship called the USS Remington, and then proceeded to captain after a while. And then that was fun to sim, and then that kind of ended, and then I went on, started doing Intrepid not long after that, actually.
Did you ever do that, Matt, or was that before your time?
I did. No, that
you did.
I did do. Okay. That I did do. Unfortunately, in recent years, I kind of had to walk away from it because of current career choices. But no, I was. Oh God, it was just after I moved to Scotland, so it would be about 10, 11 years. I was kind of involved in play by email, and absolutely loved it. I worked my way up from a very naive Bajoran up to captain.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's kind of necessity as well at that point. I got first officer, and then the captain disappeared. So it's kind of, what do you want to do?
I'm much happier behind the camera.
And then we rebooted, and a friend of mine, we've kind of created this massive story arc between the pair of us, where our characters had children, and then we brought those children back in. But it turns out that one character, the children were not the same mothers, and it was the same dad. And we just had this absolutely massive story arc. And I miss it. I don't know if you can mention it. Was Star Trek Freedom. And it was, one of those days where you went home and you just kind of submerged yourself back in that universe. But it was just, it's unfortunate that it's just kind of life at the moment, kind of when someone's got to give more time for it.
If you gentlemen ever have a chance, you need to look up Starship Excelsior. It's an audio program.
Oh, I know Excelsior.
Yes. If you want a storyline, wow. That kid can write. Well, he's not a kid anymore.
Yeah, no,
So you are familiar with them, Starship Excelsior?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yes, they're an audio program. They're absolutely awesome. And the young man that's down there in Australia, who is that one, Michael? Aaron? Yes.
Oh,
What's
his
the
films are
name of the
great.
program?
Aaron's films are really good.
Michael, the name of the program? I'm getting old. It's escaping me.
Well, I'm older.
These are the voyages. Is
Yeah,
yes,
these are the
yes, there it is.
catch-all.
He was actually on with us a few months ago, and I'm sure he's going to return as well. But the stuff that he's doing, wow, really good stuff as well.
If you haven't seen Aaron's films, you should check them out.
You're missing out.
Pretty good.
Yes, but Nick, it's the same with what you guys are doing. It's the same with continues, Farragut, Phase 2, Hidden Frontier, and there's so many others that just because I don't mention them, it's not a shot against them. It's they may not have been on yet with us.
Ditto. There's so many out there now that it's really hard to keep track of them all.
It is. And a lot of that is because of what you two gentlemen have done. It is. People followed you guys. Oh my goodness, the gentleman who's out there in the Netherlands.
Robin. Robin Heert.
Robin, yes. There's something. He was the only one that we reached out to. I said, Robin, we'd like to interview you. And he says, but we have not done anything yet. Would it not be better once we have something? Okay. And sure enough, he was on with us after the episode. Talk about no ego.
Robin does not have an ego. Robin's a good guy, actually.
He told us, dude, we won't have anything to talk about. Yes, we will. But he was like, wait. And as good as his word, if we called him right now, I'm sure he'd do an episode with us as well.
I've not spoken to Robin for a while, actually. I finally met him face to face a few years ago at
the
first Convergence shoot with Sam Cockings.
Yes,
it was supposed to be my character, Robin's character, another character, and then somebody and one of the guys from the States playing another character, and we shot some of it, and then so many things went wrong. So we finally had a big shoot recently to wrap up most of Convergence, which this is a film that Sam Cockings crowdfunded a few years ago. But obviously the cast's almost completely changed since then. So Robin wasn't able to come back, which was a shame because I was really looking forward to working with Robin again. We had a really good vibe going together. But I don't know, maybe so Sam had to completely rewrite the film, scrap what he'd shot already, start over from scratch. We had to shoot a completely new film in the 4 days we had. So we got about, I think Sam said about 87% of it done.
Wow.
So I'm going back down to Bedford in 3 weeks to film my last scene with Alexa and Nim. And then I think that's most of it in the can. So yeah. But I really enjoyed working with Robin, and I was really disappointed when he couldn't return to finish it up. But I would love to, and possibly will work with Robin again in the future if we get a chance. Well, if we get a chance, I definitely would work with him. But I'm hoping, I'm hoping we'll get the chance again. I mean, I would definitely have him over to Scotland, and I know we've spoken about that before as well. So, maybe one of these days. I know he's very, very busy with life at the moment, and
yes.
He's been working on a new house, and also he's got a lot going on these days. And so I know other things taking priority in his life at the moment, which is as it should be. This is a hobby, and real life kind of has to interfere sometimes and take priority. I'm much more selfish than that, and I don't always let real life interfere with my hobby as much as I maybe should. But yeah.
But you have it in order, and what you do is absolutely awesome. Matt, what is it that attracts you to Star Trek? And I'm not talking about Intrepid per se. We'll get to that in a moment. But what is this is the lamest question. What does Star Trek mean to you, Matt?
It goes back to kind of what I said a while ago. You get submerged into this universe that's... it doesn't... It sounds... when you go cliche and you go...
No. This is your story.
But it's not. It's a world where I think... we know right and wrong, and we're just able to find the problems that we've got and look for some amazing solution to it, and actually advance things to a point where, we're no longer stupid with the decisions that we make.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and at the same time, I mean, who doesn't want to fly around in space in a massive metal shell? But yeah, no, I think we've got to that point in Star Trek where we can kind of look back, and it's where you're saying about woke and everything, and you kind of go, do you know what? The problems that we've got are solvable, and we can solve them in a way if we just sit down and talk about it. And I think that's what Star Trek gives, as with that sense of adventure as well.
Wow, man, I appreciate it. I love asking everyone what it means to them because, Michael, we've done quite a few of these now, and they're never the same. And this is where we learn of you. Look, I'm not trying. I guess this is the old man in me, but people watch what you do. They watch Star Trek. Star Trek it's that which we don't have today, and you guys get to do that. Nick, you've been asked this, and I'm sorry. I'm sure you have. What does it mean to you? And again, avoid Intrepid. We'll get to that in a moment.
Well, Matt's already given the better answer, so I'm not sure how.
I
definitely can't top that. I don't know. I mean, it's much the same. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, which were probably kind of. I mean, the 70s were not such a great decade, but the 80s were very much a kind of boom era, and things were better. I mean, I could go to university and get a grant and not end up with like a bucket load of debt, and you know, there was a much more secure safety net for social security and things like that. So I grew up in kind of like a fairly positive time, which may be why Next Gen resonated with me so much. But for me, I mean, it's much the same as Matt said, to be honest. It's just this idea that we've grown up, and we're maybe that's why TNG appeals to me, because I know, like, obviously we said earlier that, you know, there's no conflict between the crew, but in some ways that's a nice thing because we can solve our problems without conflict. And I know sometimes not having conflict in drama is a problem and can make drama dull, but I think TNG managed to bypass that for the most part very well. And this lack of conflict, you know, we have problems, we have disagreements, but we managed to solve them without fighting. And Star Trek, and this is what Matt was saying, Star Trek and very much TNG and the shows that come after that say that, and it's a very attractive vision of the future. But also, these crews on these shows, the characters, they're families. There's a family to it all, and that in itself is very important. And also, I mean, you know, I mean, I'm a bit of a mutt. I'm kind of Australian, English, Pakistani, all that kind of nonsense. And I'm a mutt. I don't really fit in everywhere, and I was always a little bit of an outsider growing up. And Star Trek was kind of home, and it still is in an extent. And I mean, I'm not that person now. I'm not much of an outsider now. I'm very mainstream kind of guy, well, in a lot of ways. And I have friends and colleagues and a career and a very fulfilling hobby. So I'm not much of an outsider now, although, you know, you still carry that baggage with you. But in Star Trek, you don't have that baggage. So it's kind of a comfort thing. It's a very reassuring dream of the future that always kind of inspires me and I feel at home in. So I guess that's, yeah. But also, you know, we've grown up, and that's what Matt was saying. We've grown up in there. It's something it's always been something to aspire to.
Yes. Let me throw this out, and I'm going to ask you for your scenes. Knowing what we're talking about right now, Star Trek First Contact, when Picard is reaching out to Lily to get her to drop the phaser, and she drops it, and Picard says, it's like, you have no idea what I'm about to show you. Something that you did, and look at what it leads to. It's like it is the ultimate hero worship. It says Lily is the one that made the future along with Zefram Cochrane, and he gets to show her something that she will never ever see. That is one moment for me. The other one in First Contact is when Riker is finally, you know, giving it to Zefram. He says, "Look, dude, calm down. All right, I know you're not the superhero, but because of you, this and this and this and this happens." That is absolutely awesome.
And I think that scene in particular as well is important because I think very much Cochrane was Roddenberry in that movie. The very imperfect man who had a better vision than perhaps he should have had, given everything that happened around him and that he saw and experienced in his own life. He had a vision, he had an idea of something that was better than himself. And I think sometimes we tend to deify Roddenberry a little bit, in much the way Cochrane, that I think we had that thing with Cochrane in First Contact. Oh, he's wonderful, he's amazing. The reality of the man is actually he's not that perfect. And I think that's a perfect analogy for Gene Roddenberry. Who I admire greatly, but also realize that he was very much a human being with his flaws and everything that goes with it, as are we all. I'm not sure what my point was there, but yeah.
No, that is wow. Nick, have you ever told anyone that? What you just told us?
I mean that's I'm not the only person that thinks that.
Oh, I guess I must be naive in the universe. I haven't seen that one. That connection to Gene Roddenberry, is that from Cochrane? I guess I've missed that, and I read a great deal. I
don't know how widely thought that is, but I've definitely seen it discussed before.
Wow.
If we're talking of scenes that have an impact, there's two scenes from Next Gen that always get to me. One of them is in Who Watches the Watchers, when Picard and Nuria in the observation lounge, and they're looking at her planet from below and talking about, that scene just always gets to me. The other one, the campfire scene in Darmok with Picard and Dathan, when they're telling each other stories, and Picard tells them the story of Gilgamesh, and then Dathan dies. That scene always, even just thinking about that scene, just gets to me. And those are scenes that are really kind of quintessential Star Trek for me, and get to the core of what that show means to me.
Matt, same question. What are the moments that stand out for you like that? Nick, wow, thank you. And I don't think I've asked Michael of that one. I already gave my two. Nick gave his two. Matt, and then Michael. Come on. This is about what Star Trek means. Go for it, Matt. I know. Sorry for the test, buddy.
Oh. God. Can I go last?
I kind of angled the question about, we had answered what Star Trek means to us. So can you give a scene or two, just like Nick did, about what exemplifies Star Trek? And it was, wow, it was so eloquent with Michael, what Nick just said.
You've really stumped me.
It's unintentional. This is where the conversation went.
What you're supposed to say here is the scene I wrote for you in Pursuit of a Dream.
Oh, bam! There it is. There wasn't a better setup. Come on.
I'm joking.
It's well done, though.
No, do you know what? Go back to the high ground. And the scene where, now actually make sure I've got the right episode.
That's all right.
So the scene where you've got the explosion in the mall, and Beverly runs over, and Worf's trying to stop her. Data's trying to get her away, and she's like, "No, my primary goal is this." And you're just like, with everything that's going on, she still sticks to what her principles are, and she still sticks to what her I don't want to say job, because it's not a job in that era, is it?
It's who they are.
Yeah, she does whatever the issues, whatever the ramifications, whatever the sacrifice it's going to take, she's still going to go and do it. And I think take that to obviously I've got goosebumps now. To the final scene of Caretaker, where you've got the two crews, you've got Janeway stood there, having done what she's just done, destroyed the array, stranded this crew 70,000 light years away from home, put these two groups of enemies together and everything, and she's stood there and she's delivering that speech where it's just kind of like, we are family, we have one goal, and we are going to get home, and we're going to do whatever it takes, but we had to do what we had to do it.
Wow. Michael, you've never answered. I've never asked you this.
You have actually, but I can't even remember what I answered the last time.
This particular type? Okay, sorry.
But I'm just trying to think of, there's a lot of little things. Anything major? I mean, the major things was when I was younger. I mean, I'm trying to figure something specific out, but I mean, you know, in 66, 67, when Star Trek came out, we had not gone to the moon.
Oh.
And seeing this starship doing things that we hadn't done yet, and you know, going even farther than we had even planned to go. I mean, it was very moving and very, I don't even know the word, but it was just something that dreams. It's just dreams and looking what could happen and giving you hope that maybe there's something better out there and we could travel to the stars and meet other races. And, you know, all these things that, you know, just came to pass according to Star Trek. And I mean, it made a big impact on me. It really solidified me enjoying science fiction. And eventually working with Farragut. And everybody else I've worked with since.
Yeah, he's been involved in many fan productions.
That's a really good one, actually. And I think for a lot of us, I mean, I was born not long after we landed on the moon, but I've never lived in a world where we hadn't landed in the moon. And I guess, like a lot of us who that's our experience, we don't tend to think of the impact of what Star Trek and I guess other science fiction had on people before we'd landed on the moon. And it must be, you know, yeah, I can only imagine what that must be like, but that's a really, yeah, that's an amazing way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very life-changing. I mean, and you know, and I mean, I had to battle to be able to watch it because we had one television set for the house, and I had to convince my parents that that's what we'd be watching.
And Michael is one of the ones that he had to fight for it. Nick, who was the family? My mama is the one who had me watch Star Trek because I was born. Nick, I think you and I are probably just months apart.
Oh yeah,
I was born in April of '69, and my tiny connection to the thing, I was born a few months before. My mother was holding me, watching the video of us landing on the moon. My oldest was born in April of 1994, and I was holding her, watching the finale to the Next Generation.
Yeah, there's not much between us at all.
Yeah, we're close. But who got you in, Nick, and then you, Matt?
Nobody really got me into it. I mean, I got myself into it. I can't even remember what got me into science fiction, but I can't remember a time when I was never into science fiction. And I mean, 70s when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of choice. So there was Star Trek,
No.
and I think the animated Star Trek was probably my gateway, because I remember watching that in the UK as a very small child. I have strong memories of watching the Counterclock Incident. I remember Captain April for that, and it was years until I watched it again on DVD. And Beyond the Farther Star, those two I very strongly remember from my childhood. But you know, Star Trek, Space 1999.
Yep,
I was a
Space
huge fan of
1999,
Space
man.
1999. Then Star Wars. And I think, to be honest, there was a small period where Space 1999 was probably my preferred science fiction. It didn't last very long, to be fair. But I think that was because, I don't know, Space 1999 was fairly new and in some ways appealed to young me. And I think Star Trek was always a little bit more cerebral. Although the first season of Space 1999 is very cerebral. So I don't know. But Star Trek's always been kind of like the number one, but it did vie with Space 1999 for my attention a little bit when I was younger. But yeah, no, I got myself into it because I was an only child. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, which possibly explains a lot. My mother worked, my grandma was home, and I kind of got to watch what I wanted to on the TV during the day if I wasn't at school, and often after school as well. So, because nobody else really cared. What was on the TV. So yeah, if there's something on that I watched, I got to watch it. So I got to watch TAS. I got to watch the original series. I got to watch Space 1999, Incredible Hulk, Bionic Man, all that stuff. $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman. I think I watched the Planet of the Apes TV series a little bit.
Oh, then you probably saw the Logan's Run
Logan's
series, which ran a year.
Bit, and I didn't watch the Logan's Run. I didn't see much of Logan's Run, the series. In fact, I'm not sure if I saw it as a kid at all. I did watch it as an adult about 10 years ago and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I also really enjoyed Planet of the Apes TV series. I've got it on DVD. It is not on iTunes, which bugs me to this day. Forbidden Planet. Aisha, Forbidden Planet is an amazing movie. My wife and I love that movie. We still watch it from time to time. It is definitely, there's no denying it was an inspiration for Star Trek. No denying that.
The story is so complex. It is so well done.
Well, it's Shakespeare.
Yeah. Matt, come on. I know you're dying. Come on. How'd you get into it? I'm not talking about Intrepid.
No, I was a bit like Nick. I don't actually remember a time where I didn't have Star Trek. And I actually kind of very much similar. You know, I was the outsider at school. I was the loner and everything. And I think it was just, apparently my dad used to watch TOS with me.
Wow.
I don't remember it. And that would have been before I was 3. So, you know, but apparently there's kind of like a little introduction to it very, very young. But I just remember coming in kind of the tail end of TNG, watching that, and then really getting into DS9, and then exploding when Voyager came out, and then, you know, the rest is history. And I do remember the books, but like I say, I just don't remember a time where I didn't have Star Trek, and that kind of, you know, coming home at the end of, you know, the end of the week, putting it on. And I was a bit like you, Nick. I actually had a friend at school who had friends in America who would send the videos over. And I still remember getting Unimatrix Zero before the UK release. And I kind of watched that season of Voyager ahead of everybody else. And those friends of mine that I did have that were Star Trek, I was like, you know, I know what's happening because I've watched it.
Wow.
But I think that was the only season I actually managed to get a Voyager ahead of everybody else. So I then had an even longer wait for the next season. But yeah, no, it just seems to have always been there, and it kind of taken different incarnations over the years and everything. And, you know, like we talk about the toys and prints and everything. And I unfortunately was one of those stupid little boys that
we talked about that. Yeah.
just didn't understand the worth of that stuff that sat there. And, you know, I played with it all. I gave stuff away. I gave my tricorder away. I gave my T-Walk phaser away. I've still got my Picard. I was, do you know though, was that the new
Shouldn't have done that, Nick.
You know, when Playmates brought out the phasers with the shot stuck to them, I actually ended up cutting all them off. I remember building bridges and shuttlecrafts out of Lego and creating an entire universe.
I did that.
I know, and I was so annoyed that Lego turned down the license.
Tell you what else I did. I built an eagle.
Out of Legos?
Yeah, the interior sets. I had the cockpit. I had the science module. Yeah, and I played Lego Space 1999s.
Hang on. Since we're showing off things.
Yeah, Matt, we talked about that. Nick, when you walked away, I mentioned to Matt, have something ready to go. But Nick was the first one to do it, so that's good. Look,
I still I have my generations.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that is sweet.
I've seen Nick's collection. It's an impressive.
I've got those as well. They're great.
I'm sorry, there was breakup there, Matt. All I heard was it's impressive.
Yeah, Nick's collection.
Just
My
messing with you.
collection is a lot less impressive than other people's. Actually, one other thing, we were talking about Operation Beta Shield earlier.
Yes.
You can't really see it properly, but on the back of my wall there is the Federation 1 dedication plaque from Beta Shield.
I see the dedication plaque. Yes.
We, Jonathan got 2 commissioned and gave 1 to Rob and 1 to me, and that thing has sat on my wall in pride of place
Federation 1
ever since. It's just it's one of my favorite things from doing fan films is that dedication plaque. And,
President
right below it,
Paul.
which again you probably can't quite see. There is a cast and crew photo from Orphans of War with all the HF guys.
Yes. Yeah, I was commenting when you were saying about the Federation 1. For those that have seen it, President Vindon Paul. Oh, she's so good. She was good at what she did.
Although I have to say, Becky Wood is just delightfully fun person. She's nuts. She's lovely.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really good stuff. That's really neat. So, Matt, did you have any other toys? I know Nick has a few. Did you show up the communicator there, Michael? Are you wearing? You're not wearing it. Everyone here is wearing.
We've all got one.
I'm a rebel. I told you that.
Whatever. Okay, Nick, are you a Trekker or a Trekkie?
I don't care.
Oh, awesome!
It doesn't bother me.
Trekker or
People
Trekkie?
call me both.
I'm a Trekkie.
Okay.
I'm whatever people want to call me, and I've been called far worse than either. So,
Nick, I have one for you, and this is from the Section 31 books. When they ask me if I'm Trekker or Trekkie, I say I am a citizen of the Federation.
that's
that might be yours now too. That's from the books.
That is a good one.
Oh yeah, and that's why we're the Section 31 one from Discovery. I have renounced my citizenship to Sol, to Earth, and I am a citizen of the Federation. Folks, that is hardcore Star Trek from the novels. Go look it up. It's good stuff. I've already explained it. But for those that know and don't, I guess I'm going to reveal it now. Section 31 agents.
See, now he's muted.
I'm sorry? Michael?
I can barely hear you.
You've gone.
I'm sorry. Am I there now?
Not
Very
really.
quiet.
I will start back up.
Yeah. So we lost him for a minute. Yeah, I was having troubles a couple of weeks ago at the same problem. Oh, he's back quick. No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to reset.
Okay, so you'll be gone a little bit longer. Okay, no, I had the problems with another interview, and that was worse than that. So I totally get that. So since he's not here now,
You get to get a word in edgeways.
Yes.
Well, we can talk about Intrepid, which really. Now let me ask you this: what have you got in the works? Anything that is you filmed and still hasn't come out? You said you had one.
So we actually have a few things in the works and in post. So a few years ago, we shot a short written by Steve Hammond called Destruct Sequence that Steve, in his wisdom, has decided to do all the post-production work on himself. So that's taking a long time to do. But it's a nice little story. I know he'll finish it eventually. I just don't know when he'll finish it. We also have, I don't quite want to give the title away, but it's a film we shot when we were in San Francisco and going around locations from Matt's seen.
Certain things that are important
from Star Trek
original
4.
series.
No, from Star Trek 4.
Star Trek 4. Oh, Star Trek 4.
So it's a little bit of an homage to that. And it's a fun film. I'm pretty sure I've shown Matt some of it.
Yeah, we've seen some on shoots.
It's only about 5 or 6 minutes long, so it's just a bit of fun, and it's all visually complete. I'm just I need to do a bit of ADR on it, and then send it off for sound work, and then that's it done.
Ooh.
So it'll be out this year.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've just become a cat dad, so I know exactly what that's like now, Matt.
She loves to get attention, and when she doesn't get it, she just takes it.
Yeah, ours has latched onto me.
They do.
And follows me around. I had to chase it out of my office the other day, actually. He's very sweet, but he hasn't figured out that day is day and night is night yet. So we're getting there.
We're
anyway,
luckily there.
So yeah, so we've got that. We're currently filming on Echoes, which was a film we crowdfunded a couple of years ago, and then got derailed somewhat because of COVID. But we're working on trying to get the final shoot scheduled for that. One of the actors has moved away, so it's proving very difficult to get her in. But we have one, maybe 2 shoots worth to finish that up. And I know I've got Sam Cockings has started working on visual effects for that, and Henry Gibbons has he just recently delivered the Venkari ships, which are our protagonists in that film. So visual effects work is slowly going to be starting on that. So, you know, we're making progress on that, and it will be done, I hope, by next year. You just never know with these things. Also, I've partially shot another film with Sam Cockings. This one Sam wrote for us. I'm going back down in a few weeks to shoot the last scene of that, and as well as do some stuff for Sam. And I recently shot something at Vasquez Rocks that may or may not be terrible, but we'll see, when I was on holiday. So I'm working away at that. And I have that Enterprise D bubble bath somewhere. We've never used it, but we have it. It's cool. And I've got a number of scripts in various states. We have a script from David Eversole, who I'm sure you know, that wrote for us a few years ago, and then the guidelines dropped and went, and then we rewrote it and shortened it, and then after a few years, we've gone, actually, stuff this, let's just shoot it. So I'm planning to shoot that next year. I'm very firm on shooting that next year. I just need to get Echoes out of the way so we can start on that. And that is called Down This Road Before. And actually, it's a really nice script. I really want to get it done and do justice to it. I think people will enjoy it. There's some really fun characters in that one, actually. And I have some additional scripts of my own. We're working on filming a short called Conviction of the Demons, which is actually a very abbreviated version of a much longer script I wrote, which I think was biting off more than I could chew. So the stuff we shot for that a few years ago, actually 10 years ago, which ended up being kind of shoved aside, and we went and worked on other things. So I brought this footage back and shooting some new footage, and I've got another shoot for that in just over a week, actually. So I need to get on with getting that ready. And then one more shoot for that. And then that will be done and out hopefully next year. And then there's another few scripts in various stages of readiness, including possibly a sequel to The Stone Unturned, which was our Picard story. When obviously no Picard in it, but I want to bring back the character of Kolib that was the villain in that story, and I have an idea to do that, but that's probably a year or two away. We'll see.
So in other words, there's nothing in the works.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I've always got like about half a dozen stories on. I mean, there's more scripts than that I've got sitting there as well, and it's just trying to find time to focus on one and finish it and focus on the next one. And sometimes we're doing these things piecemeal because, well, we can't get actors for this one just now, but these people are available. Right, we've got a weekend we can shoot. Let's shoot stuff for this. And then Echoes particularly has been really, really difficult to try and get people scheduled for. I mean, it's been a chore. And we've had to adapt as we've gone a little bit. I ended up having to rewrite some scenes were supposed to be exteriors to be a green screen shoot, which then adds more to the post because we couldn't shoot during the summer and we were stuck and we had to shoot in the winter months, and then we can't shoot outdoors in the winter months because it's dreadful here. So we had to shoot indoors, so I had to rewrite it to be a green screen shoot. So that's added tons more post-production to it that shouldn't have been post-production effort, but hey, you know, we'll get there. In fact, I think Henry Gibbons has agreed to key some of that for us, so that's like a huge help. But yeah, you know, you always run into a lot of unforeseen things on these because at the end of the day, if we were a professional production and people were being paid and this was everybody's job, it would be very different. But the problem is we all have lives, we all have jobs. careers,
All volunteer.
families. Oh yeah, all our own shit to deal with. So these
Yeah.
things are all pulling, and it's like it's fine for me because I work part-time, so I have a bit more time than everybody else, including my wife who's full-time. But because this is kind of my passion project in a lot of ways, I'm probably more invested in a lot of it. So if it's like, oh, I want to shoot, and everybody's like, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and so it's really hard to juggle everything. And that's not anybody's fault because, you know, they're not as lucky to me as have maybe much as free time as I have. But then I also have a lot of responsibilities in that I've got quite a demanding job. I have a family, I have a young daughter, and I have a cat. We also have 3 guinea pigs. Yeah, 1 cat. It could be worse. And
What's
actually,
the name of the cat?
his name is Smoky. He is a 10-year-old, and we adopted him last weekend. He's very sweet, actually, and very gentle, which surprised me because I've never known a cat to be that gentle. But you know, he takes your finger with his paw and wraps his toes around it, but doesn't use his claws. And I'm like, I've never known a cat to do that. But yeah, although he does come up and pat you on the head at like 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, sure. You know he's marking his territory, right?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. They're just patting you on the head. But just very gently patting. I don't know why I'm doing it with my hand, but just very gently patting you on the head. It's quite sweet. But also it's like, yeah, another drain on my time. So, yeah, but I'm lucky my wife accommodates a lot of this stuff because she's very understanding. Probably more so than she should be. But then she's also a fan, so that doesn't hurt. But yeah, it's just, it's difficult sometimes.
Well, you make it look easy, Nick. There's no.
I wish I did make it look easy. I don't feel like I make it look easy. I feel like I make it look terrible. Yeah.
Well, no, you've hinted to some of the issues, and you've said some of the issues, and it's all volunteer. That's the thing. If we could do this full time, could you imagine? But my answer to all of this is, we don't know what could be. We're looking at what we have now, and you've already delivered on 12. You have more in the works. I mean, look, we get to play in the sandbox. You're doing it. You saw someone else and said, I could do that. And you've done it. You have, and you're still doing it.
I think one of the things that, and Sam Cockings had made this point to me, and I think he's right in this, the more people you have involved, the harder it becomes because then you have to schedule them. And he's had a lot of frustrations trying to get Convergence scheduled because there's more of us involved in it. Whereas the films where he's just got me and Nim or me and Marcus or Nim and Marcus or Alexa, it's just 1 or 2 people he's trying to schedule. It's a lot easier to do that. As soon as you start bringing in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, it becomes way more complicated. And I mean, I've seen somebody criticizing a lot of us a few years ago because, well, I made a fan film and I was out in the desert with my child and I did it in a day and blah, blah. It's like, okay, that's fine. That was easy for you because it was you and 1 person. But actually, we're working with visual effects artists. We're working with multiple actors. We're working with a camera person. It's not that. Once you start bringing in all these factors, it becomes a lot more complicated. And it's a lot of juggling schedules, a lot of relying on people to volunteer their time. And you can't push people to do these things. I'm saying it's like frustrating for me because I'm trying to get actors and people to be schedules to align, but that's not their fault. They are volunteering their time for free. I can't pester them to that and bug them about that and say, well, look, you said you would do this. Come and do this. I want this done. I'm not paying them for their time. So I've got to rely on their generosity. And I shouldn't be demanding more from them than that when it's their generosity and their free time, because it's their free time as well. And everybody's time is valuable. Yeah. Sorry, that was a rant.
Not at all. That was straight up, Nick. I thank you for that. You're doing it. You're still doing it. Like I alluded to earlier, people watch what you do. Now, I do want to arrogantly say something, Nick. A lot of your numbers are very high, but your ancillary stuff, the numbers are low. You need to advertise a little bit more. That's all.
I don't advertise much.
Okay, no, I apologize. What I mean is you should put it out there more on your site, announce it, Facebook, and say, look, these are the behind the scenes. These are your fans love that.
I
That
think
stuff works. That's the only thing I would humbly offer to you.
That's a fair point. One of the things I would say is I am a very self-conscious person, which may not come across when the way I'm having in these interviews, because I'm also a very talky and extroverted person, but I'm also very, very self-conscious. So, and people have said this to me before. Why don't you? Because I get quite embarrassed talking about Intrepid to people that aren't fans, for instance, or who are peripherally fans. And I'm very and Matt will attest to this. When I send scripts out to people, I'm like waiting for them to tell me what's wrong with it. It's like, or hate it, you know? So I'm very self-conscious about this stuff. And I feel like I'm not a professional. I'm a guy that does this as a hobby. So I'm always worried that people are going to hate what I'm putting out. Yeah. So I'm just very self-conscious about this stuff. I don't like hyping my work up at all. I hate doing that. And I just don't, I'm not one of these guys going to go, yeah, here comes my amazing new film. It's like, I usually, oh, this is a new film. I'm really proud of it. So-and-so did a really good job in it. I don't like overhyping my work. And maybe I do overhype my work and I'm just not aware that I am.
How about
maybe
this?
some people feel I'm overhyping my work.
I don't know if there are. Look, you're going to have the haters. That's a modern phrase. You're going to have people that they're not going to care. But I'm just offering to you, Nick, something along the line of your audience wants to see it. You've got the material. You can share it with them in between and say, hey, look, remember when we did this? Look at what we found. That's what I would humbly suggest. Nick, that's
a fair point.
Look, and that's it. You know what you're doing. It's just, I see your numbers. I see your episode counts. And then I see your behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, oh, you got to get that out there more often. That's all I would offer. That's it.
I think that's good advice. I would say from the one thing I would say in response is that I dislike disappointing people. And I always feel every time I put anything out or sending scripts out to cast or even what cast see in the finished film, I'm always worried about disappointing them with what we put out. And there's always, I don't mind people having criticisms of our films, but I can guarantee you every criticism anybody has ever raised about any of our films, I can guarantee you that I've seen those criticisms and pulled out hairs and fretted about them and worried about them and so forth and gone, well, there's not much you can do about it at this stage. So and even when we're filming stuff, I see things happening and thinking, why did I do that? Or why did I not do this? So I always worry about disappointing people, which is one of the reasons I don't promote much and I don't hype much. Like I say, some people might disagree and say that I do hype my stuff. I don't think I do, but I certainly definitely promote less than some people do. And I don't mean that in the fact that they shouldn't. I think they should. Just that I don't know. I'm one of these people that doesn't like hyping what I do and is very self-conscious about what I do and thinks everybody's going to hate it.
Well,
I'm not sure that
your answer was liked by Randy Landers right now. It just came up as a heart. He just right now gave us a like on that. So I know he's watching. So who knows? Maybe one of your peers might be able to join us. I sent him the link. I don't know if you've ever met Randy Landers.
Not personally, no.
Pictures.
I mean, we've spoken, but we've never met in face to face. I don't think I'm the only person in fan films that feels that way. I don't think that's that unusual a way to feel.
I don't hear it from many people, Nick. Look.
Maybe they just don't admit to it.
Okay. Well, let me tell you. And I've been dying. I wanted to come back to this, and now I remembered because the old man doesn't. When you admitted that you were one of those that ripped TNG, okay, that takes a lot. No one admits that publicly or privately that they were a hater, and now all of it, or I didn't want to say a hater, but they did not like it. You said they cannot do Star Trek without the originals, and that's what many people said. And look at what you're doing now because of those very same ones, which is kind of cool. No one else has admitted that on this program or very many others.
TNG went from a show I hated to a show I loved, and I think certainly that taught me a valuable lesson. about prejudging and about having a more open mind. But I mean, part of that was I grew up, I matured as an adult while watching TNG a great deal, which is probably one of the reasons it's so dear to me today as a show.
Oh. Matt, some thoughts right there in the conversation?
I would just agree. I think, you know what, when I think I said it before, didn't I? When, you know, looking back at like the likes of Enterprise now, where you kind of, you look at it with different eyes and you see the change, you see what maybe the teenage you wouldn't have seen, but you see what maybe the writers actually intended for you to see, and the maturity that's in it and the depth of those storylines. And you just realize that, again, you know, cliche, we go into a universe that can be so much better than the universe that we're in, and we have the ability to do that. But I think, as well as kind of, you know, you keep saying, you know, what you guys are doing, and you know that's Nick. Nick's the driving force behind everything. I've seen the messages where you know, it's kind of like push, and we are. I'm so privileged to have been involved in what I've been involved in so far with him, because it just gives me that chance to kind of go back to being a kid again, and what have you. And I think I was kind of thinking before I came on, you know, what do I say? And you know, we were talking about playing in the sandbox and everything, and some people emulating other things, and some people getting their own stuff and what have you. And I think I'm actually quite happy that my first foray into Intrepid has not been in a uniform, and has not been, you know, as a Starfleet person, because I was able to do what I wanted to do with with the character that in Pursuit of Her Dreams, because we had seen a very small glimpse of them, but you know, it was somebody completely new, where I think if I had to go in now, I would probably start trying to rip another character off and present them as we did on TV. And I don't think that does justice to what you write. I don't think that does justice to what the fans are wanting either, because we're not who they are. We're who we're bringing into the world now. And yeah, sorry, I'm completely rambling.
Not at all. No, there's a thought there.
Yeah, no, I think I'm privileged to kind of get sent these scripts. I'm privileged to get the opportunity to go out and film them, or not film them, hint, hint, as the case may be. And yeah, like I say, it just gives you a chance to kind of go back into the world where everything was fantastic, and just kind of play along again.
I want to just, they're private conversations. I do want to comment. Randy did send me a note, and I gave it to Nick. It's in our private chat, and Nick responded, and just now Randy is giving me 3 hearts. So 2 professionals communicating, through me. So I guess I'm the universal translator. Isn't that funny? You got an American, you got a Scotsman, and you got the Latin guy being the translator. What kind of world do we live in? Oh, that's cool. 2 gentlemen that are keeping Star Trek going. Not that it needs it, but you guys are really doing things that many of us wish we could do. Seriously. We wish we were there. We wish we were helping in so many ways, and you guys are keeping the dream alive.
But
Star Trek.
Everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can, but they're not. You guys are. And I mean Intrepid. I mean Farragut, Hidden Frontier, everyone. And everyone that came before, and everyone that's now, and everyone is after. Star Trek, look at the answers you gave. Look at the answers we've given. You know, folks, you know, Star Trek is, wow, you know, it is amazing. Yisha, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. I know it's late for you as well. She's taking care of her mom. And she was on our sports program. So Aisha's been with me since 6 a.m. this morning
Oh,
to
Aisha,
about
go get some
now 1:30, which is really, really cool. I thank you, Aisha. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. But, gentlemen,
Have a good day.
the real privilege, my tiny privilege, is being able to have a conversation with you and to learn, to have your story shared with us about that common thing that we have. And it's bigger than Star Trek. It is our journey that we have on this rock. And, yeah, I wish I lived in the Star Trek universe. I did. But the closest thing is Star Trek itself and what you are doing. It's he said it. Riker said it. In 50 years, it's over. The need for food, the hunger's gone, disease is gone. When we realize it's not just us anymore. And Nick, you commented about the second season of Enterprise. I would argue with you, Carbon Creek.
Carbon Creek's great. It is certainly one of it's. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
And we're not shooting down Enterprise. It's just Carbon Creek. I know a lot of people don't like it because it's revisionist. And Matt, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah,
Paul's
definitely.
grandmother, right?
Yep.
I know it's thin, it's flimsy, but think about the universe that we were playing. The Vulcans are a-holes, man. They are jerks in Enterprise, but we realize why they are.
Mm-hmm.
But Carbon Creek made them almost human, which if we listen to Star Trek 16 as kind of a country, it's almost racist for us to call Vulcans human. Remember, what's her face says, inalienable. You realize how racist that is? That was funny. That was good. But in Carbon Creek, these are Vulcans that they're decent people. And it was really, really cool. And it was just very well done. For me, Carbon Creek is what said, all right, Enterprise, I'm in. I like what I'm watching. We'll see where it's going to go.
Carbon Creek was definitely a high point of season 2. And actually, I like the finale of season 2 as well.
Yeah, which it's funny. Carbon Creek, I think, was the second episode of the season. And for those that remember,
I've watched, I really don't remember, but I do remember that one was really good.
Yeah, I don't remember too many in the second season either, but Carbon Creek is one that stood out. That one's a favorite for me, and there is across the board. Michael, go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
No, that's understandable. It's a good show. It's a good episode.
That one definitely. His line, I think it's, you guys know about the connection, right? That they allege that he stayed on Earth
and created Velcro.
Okay, right. Well, Grandma did, but the male Vulcan stayed on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
In First Contact, there is an older man that kind of stutter steps, and if you look closely, there's something up with his ears. It's people believe that's him in First Contact. And he's not Vulcan, obviously, but if you look closely, it could pass. So it's interesting that he would be there because, well, I guess he sees things changing, which is kind of cool. But anyway, I'm all Matt. Now I'm rambling. So,
yeah, at least you make sense.
Oh no, I think you're being polite to me, Michael. Come on, jump in, pal. I'm monopolizing.
I'm just having a good time listening.
Gentlemen, I know I'm talking more than I should, but you guys bring that out in all of us. I guess we want to share with you because we look up to you. We see what you're doing. I mean this in every which way. We're envious. I've already said this. We love what you do, and we're thankful because you're doing Star Trek, and Star Trek is of a future, which I was alluding to a moment ago, is of better days. That's a hell of a thing, gentlemen. And it's awesome. My claim is I get to talk with you guys. Have a conversation with you guys. It is cool. And Nick, you've got stuff upcoming, which is absolutely awesome.
Might take a while, but we'll get there.
Now, I understand the whole thing that you cannot accept, you can't pay your people and stuff, but you can get away with, if people wanted to donate to the program, what could they do to help out? Because look, again, you're not soliciting, but some people can and do donate. What could they do? I know now I really put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I honestly don't know. I've never been asked that. Well, I probably have been asked that before, and we've always tried to avoid. We have crowdfunded once, which I'm sure you know, but I don't know. Most of our people, it's about donating time.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's obviously not possible for everybody that would like to help out, but I don't know. I mean, if people want to donate props, costumes, I don't know. Obviously, I've never asked anybody to donate large sums of money or expensive items, but I know some people have donated props over the years.
That's cool.
I used to do all the costuming myself, although I've kind of stepped back from that a bit in recent years because I just don't have time. We kind of got plenty of props now, actually, but you never have enough props, I guess. But
so then what they should do is they should contact you at starshipintrepid.net, right?
Yeah, contact me, and if you want to help out.
Again, folks, and I say this to the audience, they didn't ask me, we didn't get together on this, but I do know that these programs. Oh, okay, Nick, I asked John Broughton the amount of money. I mean, I'm not asking you to tell me, but if you think about what it costs, how much you spent, your eyes just glaze over, right? Yeah, there it is. There.
I mean,
there it is.
I've never kept track of it, but I've certainly spent tens of thousands on this hobby over the year. I mean, maybe not tens and tens and tens of thousands, but I mean,
you have spent your own money and a lot of it.
Oh yeah, definitely,
yes.
Definitely. And other people have spent money on this as well, so it's not just me. I mean, everybody that's paid for their petrol, or in some cases paid for their lunch. Sometimes we used to provide food, but I think sometimes people say, no, I'll just bring my own, it's fine. Recent shoot where I offered to pay people's petrol and said, no, you're fine, you're good, it's fine. I'm like, okay, just put it into the production. Okay. Yeah. So I think we're very lucky insofar as most of the people that have worked on this over the years and have been very generous with their time and their money. So, it's not just my money that's gone into this. There's a lot of people who've worked on it whose money's gone into it as well. I mean, Alan Score used to make food for us out of his own pocket sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been. So yeah, I don't know.
That is, and I thank you, Nick. See,
I mean, if there's someone very rich out there who wants to bankroll us for building,
boom, there it is,
sets and stuff, I'm never going to say no. But
okay.
Yeah.
Then that's what they can.
Well, maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah, you can donate. You can give props. Talk to Starship Hidden Friend. I'm so sorry. Oops.
I'm sure Rob Caves would be happy for as well.
Actually, what Rob would do back then, and this is not a secret or anything, because people would ask him how could they help, and he says, you know what you could do for us? Get us the gift cards from Home Depot, because they would build the sets and stuff. That was a cool idea. And he says, you really want to do something? Our set construction. And there was an idea. And so
if only we built sets.
Yeah. Going back to some of your episodes, let's go back to the first one. Okay. And you were out there in the Highlands, but you were also on the Intrepid itself. You did have some sets, and some of it was green screen, or correct?
Yeah, we built some partial walls because our original plan was to build these bits of sets and then extend them with CG, and we did a little bit of that. We built part of Hunter's office, and we built part of a corridor and part of a lab, and part of the turbo lift. I'm not sure how well our sets worked, but because we were working in such low resolution at the time, I think we got away with them. We wouldn't get away with those sets now.
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but when you started out, we were still using the Apple View, right? So the
Oh yeah,
screens
I
were
mean,
smaller. Remember?
we shot the original film on Steve's Sony Handycam.
Wow.
So I think the maximum resolution for that was, God, 720 maybe.
I'm not even sure if it was 720 back then.
Yeah, I don't
don't
think
know.
so.
But
I think
anyway,
I know
was,
what the US was. I know the European was different, but the US was 640 by 480.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar, but
it was SD video.
Yeah.
Videotape, DV tape. And when Steve was there's a heavy laser chrome only exists at like the maximum resolution we have for it is 512. The reason for that is because when Steve was capturing it, hard drives were a lot more expensive and we had limited space for storing it. So he captured it in 512 instead of the maximum resolution of the DV tapes. So, and then when we put it on YouTube, it was 384 resolution because that's what he rendered it at. Now, I do have a copy of it at 512 and I did do a little bit of a spruce up on some of the sound for some of it recently. We've often kind of thought about putting it out in 512 and doing some ADR on some of the more problematic scenes because the sound on it's terrible. We were using a very cheap mic and we were kind of holding it like this, so it was pretty bad. I did ADR one scene and it turned out not bad actually, so we might do more of that, but Steve's got the original files, so that's kind of up to him to do.
All right, Nick, bear with me one quick moment.
Sure
I just received a message. Matt, I want to thank you. I had no idea we would go 241. Wow. It's a wonderful conversation. Matt, look, first of all, I want to thank you. Look, you guys are talking about time. You've given your audience time. There's no way I can thank you for it. We're going to continue to hype it on our end, Nick. But Matt, I know you said you had to get to something. I thank you. I would love to have you back whenever you want to talk some Trek or anything. We do everything and anything. And we're going to be doing some other programs in the future. Nick, anytime you want us to help you get word out, we're going to be watching your website. But anytime. Anyway, I'm saying bye to Matt.
Yeah.
Matt's got to go. I was almost kicking Nick off, but that's his out, it's out. But no, Matt, thank you, young man. Last thoughts before you go?
No, do you know what? I keep harping back to it and just going, the reason you kind of got involved and the reason we do it is it takes you back to the childhood, doesn't it? It takes you back to a time where life was simpler and we just enjoyed it. So thank you for giving us the opportunity for kind of disappearing back into a world that was nice, kind of filling that void where we didn't have Trek. And now it's come back, of course, and it's come back with a vengeance, hasn't it? But that's a whole other conversation. But, yes, no, thank you. I'm sorry I'm going to have to disappear, but yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, Matt.
See you later.
Right, Matt, we'll see you.
Bye.
Catch up soon.
Yep. Bye.
I guess I'll just remove him. Oh, he did it on his own. So, wow. Nick, I've got to tell you, I was worried. I really was worried because Mike and I joked about it. I said, dude, I hope that the great bird of the galaxy shines down on us and we do not have internet issues. You guys were on with us for an hour and a half. And I'm just so embarrassed because it was the connection that was on my fault. As I said, Nick would not do another episode with me. But since Michael asked, I'm sure we'd get in. And so when Michael says, hey, I got Nick Cook, I said, you didn't mention NDB Media or Roger, right? No, yeah, I did. And he said yes. That's what I told him. And yeah. I was like, all right, wow. I don't remember it that fondly. I remember it was so frustrating. But you guys really stuck with us even back then. And we have the episode. And to think, Nick, it's been 13, 14 years since we last spoke. We interviewed you back then, and you guys were gracious. So you had a lot of people on with us then. And it was. Well, I would have
liked to have got more on tonight, but I think everybody's kind of busy and doing things.
It's Saturday night. Yes.
I'm glad Matt was able to join us, though.
Nick, it was great that Matt was able to join us, but having you on and learning quite a bit even more so from you. I'm sorry if some of the questions were repeated
Oh,
and you
no,
had
not
them
at all.
before.
It's been fun actually chatting about all this stuff. I have to say, I mean, Matt was like, I was so glad to be able to get Matt in Pursuit of a Dream, and he really did make that film, to be honest. It would not have been what it was without him in it. And he did a great job of delivering some of the stuff I wrote for him, especially that last scene, which, you know, when I was editing, it really did kind of get under my skin quite a bit. So, yeah, that film means a lot to me.
Yeah. Wow. You know, hopefully we'll get a chance to spend some time on that episode. You never know. And who knows, maybe we can do an audio commentary.
Ooh.
I've been challenging,
You know,
actually.
you have to get Sam Cockings for that.
Oh, well, okay. We'll see what we can do. But I'll tell you this. If you are ever interested in going back and doing an auto commentary, we could do it live. We could record it. It would be a thrill to do that. I think it'd be fun having people look back, especially looking back on some of the first stuff that you ever did.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
let me tell you, Nick, it holds up. I'm not being condescending. It is a creature of its time. It's story. Yes, it is, but it's story. And that's why you still have fans, because they're invested. That's why you have us as fans.
It's interesting. Steve and I did the Stone Unturned, which is our Picard episode.
Yeah.
Steve and I did a commentary track on that years and years ago, which is still on our YouTube channel, actually. And that was kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
I can't remember much of what we said or if it was any good, but we did do a commentary track for it.
Well, it is something that we would gladly offer. And like I said, we could schedule and then record it. But then, yeah, you already have to deal with stuff like that. I'm just saying that we would love to be.
Hey, I'd be up for
anyway.
that. I love talking about this stuff anyway, so I'd totally be up for that.
Let me tell you, Nick, taking this trip, checking out and talking about the different series, it's really been good stuff. Learning your point of views on some stuff. I know you haven't said some of the stuff before that you did today. So I'm really happy about that.
Depends what mood I'm in as to what I have to say. Yeah. Hopefully nothing controversial.
No. If anything, that's left to me, because Michael's smarter than I am. You see, look, he's nodding.
He's nodding, yeah.
Because I always take a shot at someone, and I think I've obliquely implied something, and even then I didn't, because it's been good. More and more people are reaching out to us, and I'm incredibly gratified that they want to spend time with us. But what draws us together is that shared experience. And Nick, more power to you. I can't wait to see what's coming from Intrepid, because I know there's more, and you've already let us know. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know that was kind of almost an end. That's your call, pal. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, young man?
I have no idea. I think that's probably a good place to end it, to be honest. But I just want to say, is like everybody that has been watching, including yourselves, that's been following us over the years, I'm really grateful that people have stuck with us. And I'm sure not everybody's stuck with us, but I'm really grateful for those people that have stuck with us. And I do see familiar voices jumping in from time to time that I haven't seen in a while. Said, "Oh, I just saw you new, and that's really good." And people saying, "Oh, I've missed you," whenever we put a film out. And it means a lot to get those things. And you do always get the negative voices, the negative voices don't really bother me. But it's nice to see actually even the people that have constructive criticisms.
Right. Some of the negative voices.
I do enjoy those.
Yeah.
And it maybe doesn't always seem like it, but I do always listen to those things. I maybe don't always learn those lessons, but I do listen. And we try to get better every time. But yeah, I'm just really grateful that, some people have stuck with us through the years and still follow what we do, and seem to enjoy what we do mostly. And it's nice to have that. I mean, we don't have a huge following or anything. We're not Star Trek Continues. That's fine. That's not what we aspire to be. I'm much more about, when I started this, I was very much about telling big, expansive, arc-based stories. And I think part of that was inspired by Hidden Frontier and by DS9. And then I think it's taken me a while, and I've realized that actually my type of storytelling is much more those smaller personal stories for characters, and I kind of gravitate towards those kind of stories. So, which again, to bring up Pursuit of a Dream, that was a very small personal story for Hunter. And I think I have mentioned this elsewhere.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Siri was trying to speak to me there.
Don't worry, she does to me
elsewhere.
too.
Yeah, but Pursuit of a Dream, it was not my choice to make that a Hunter story. Well, I guess it was, but it wasn't my preference. But it was very much a scheduling thing. Who can we get on short notice that can do this? And it was basically, okay, the Sam and me, maybe I can get someone to play another character in this. The stuff we can shoot with some of Sam's cast. So, I mean, the choice was, okay, it's me, so I'm going to have to write it for Hunter. But I think the expedience of that probably worked. And I think it's probably one of my better performances. And it was certainly elevated by Matt's presence and all the other casts that are in it. And also, it was great to get Risha Denny in it, even though we shot the footage that we used of her about 10 years ago. It was nice to have her in it. And it worked in a very organic way. So that film was just kind of a pleasure to make and remarkably smooth process. But then there weren't very many people involved with it, which made it a lot easier in a lot of ways. But yeah, if it had been my first choice would not have been to make it a Hunter story. But my point is, as I'm kind of waffling here, that I like those smaller, more personal stories very much. And that's the kind of thing I'm focusing on writing.
A lot of people don't get that. And you do. I humbly offer that. Again, your stories have been there. And Nick, you're just doing good stuff. And I'm eternally grateful as a fan of Star Trek. And that's why I'm interested. And there is another comment. There he is, the man of the hour. So thank you, Nick, for coming on today. Sorry I couldn't participate today. We've had location pickup shots, work on the shuttlecraft, and polishing up a script for the next Webster. But it was great hearing him talk. So that means his crew was listening as well. So that's why. And Randy
thank you, Randy.
Peers, dude. I was kind of hoping Randy would join us. One of the best things that we ever did, Nick. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, you guys need to help me out. Alan Carter, the actor from Space 1999.
Oh, Nick Tate.
We had him on, and we had Suzanne Roquette, also from Space 1999. She helped us set it up. We interviewed her, and then Nick Tate was a next one, and we said, hey, Suzanne, you want on? So we punked Nick with Suzanne. So it was interesting because she spoke. She says, hi, Nick, you know who this is? And in about 4 seconds, he said, Suzanne? They hadn't spoken in 30 years. That was kind of neat. Yeah, it was really kind of neat that we were able to do that. I'm not saying this is the same, but it would have been absolutely awesome to have Randy on as a peer. He is your peer, Nick.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things which is what I was going to say, it'd be interesting to have kind of a summit of a few of us.
There it is. There it is.
Because I think as a group, we probably have interesting things. I might be the least interesting of that group, but we probably have interesting things to say. I mean, one of the things, I would love to go to Trek Lanta. It's just not super practical for me for obvious reasons. But I would love to go to Trek Lanta and hang out with some of the guys there and, be in one of Randy's films in the background somewhere. But yeah, that would be something I would enjoy doing. But yeah, I think a mini summit of a few of us fan film guys would be fun. Get Robin on, get Randy on, get John Broughton on, get Sam Cockings on. Yeah, we'd probably have a blast.
You'd have a better chance to get James Cawley on than we would.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could get James Cawley on.
Oh, stop it! I think you could better than we can.
No.
You know what? We asked one time. They didn't even answer us. So we're like, okay, that's cool. You don't want to play with us? It's all right. And we don't have anything against them. It's just, I guess they didn't think we were big enough at the time.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just that James has stepped away from it all. He has his reasons, and I think that I wouldn't take it personally.
We did 15 years ago.
I can. Okay, but I can't.
Everyone want, you know what? And I can say this in also a bit of jest. Everyone wanted a piece of James. Forgive me for saying. So we were just yet another voice. But and we're not angry about it. It's like, hey, come on. He said no. No. Actually, they didn't say anything.
I don't know James that well. My suspicion is James has so many things going on. A lot of the time, he doesn't reply to messages.
Yeah.
And it's not a personal thing. It's just that he doesn't.
And
I kind of get
inundated.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, I think a mini summit would be great.
All right, Nick, you've put us on that task.
You need to get Rob Caves on.
Okay, I will ask Rob Caves again, but here's what happened between him and us. We did our programs on Tuesday night, and then they were going to do something on a night, so we moved to Monday. Well, he went on Monday, and he accused me of taking his time. I'm like, dude, you're on Wednesday. So I was like, okay, and then I never spoke to him after that because he said, dude, you're on when we're on. No, I moved my day because of you guys, but that's okay. Rob is a good person. I've met him. I think what he did is great, but okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry there weren't enough days of the week. Yes, and that's why I said there just weren't enough days of the week at the time. But it was kind of funny. It's like, well, we're nobody. So how did we start?
No, don't say that. Don't say that about yourselves. That's not true at all. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all nobodies. And we're all somebody.
Fair enough.
I
can't argue.
I don't like people saying they're nobodies. I mean, that's, nah, I don't like that. That's not that. You're not nobody.
Damn it. I ended this on a bad note.
I'm not saying that in a critical way, but it's like, yeah, don't put yourself down like that. That's not.
You know what, Nick? We don't take ourselves seriously. I think that's the only thing. And
that's fair enough. I don't take what I do all that seriously from that point of view.
Fair enough.
At all. Which I guess is like, I think we're all nobody and we're all somebody.
At the same time.
Hey. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all have value.
Yes, we do. In that we do. We just don't admit it. Kind of like you don't admit it either. So I will take that
admit it differently.
Yes, and I'm listening to you. I appreciate it. I'm still not going to admit to it because, hey, we're the little fly on the wall. Look, we're competing with Trek Zone. I stated it. I like what they do. All kidding aside, but we are competing.
That's a good guy.
And yes, and now it's out there, so we are competing with him. And he's like, "Who the hell are you guys?" That's probably what he's saying. But it's all good. I like what he does, and he's really good at what he does. And like I said, well,
I mean, Matt's pretty upfront. Matt does not get ridiculous numbers of views or anything like that. So I mean, he's not, oh, I'm this and that and that. Matt's a pretty down to earth guy.
Yeah, he seems that way, and that's why we picked him as being our competitor. There it is. No shot intended.
That is quite funny.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll tell him you said that.
That's great, and it'll be fun.
He would probably appreciate that. Would be my suspicion.
Yes, and it's meant in fun and jest. We've stated it, and it's actually two different audiences if you think about it, and the way we go about business. But I watch his stuff; it's good stuff, and it's really
me too.
Like we watch yours. So, Nick, wow, 3 hours. Thank you, sir. No, we can do this. We can do it, but it looks like it's 2:00 my time. I have to get ready, and I'm going to go out now.
Yeah, it's 10:00 my time, or just coming up to 10:00.
Yeah. Nick, as always, incredibly gracious.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Whenever you'd like to have a conversation, anytime we could assist in a tiny way to get word out, we're in. Sure. If it seems like I'm groveling and begging, yeah, I am. Because we don't take ourselves seriously.
Hey, I mean, guys, I'll come on anytime you want. And obviously schedule it, but yeah,
of course.
5 a.m. Okay.
No, we have to be at least polite. Look, as we're returning to the well, requesting to have other guests on in the past, we'll let you know, Nick, and maybe you could make some of them. You never know. Sure.
I mean, when we've got something new coming out, I'll happily come on.
Oh,
or other times, I don't have to have something new coming out. Had fun tonight. Had fun last time. I'll come on whenever you guys ask, within reason.
Of course, Nick.
Not
It's
every
very
week.
kind of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Starship Intrepid speaks for itself. And check out their stuff. We like it. Nick, you're a wonderful voice for what you do, as well as for Star Trek, which is one of the same. And I appreciate what you mentioned to us in the last few minutes. It's really good stuff. Folks, I love poking people, and that's why I say the things that I do about people, but it's never meant with any meanness. It's the experiences that we've had. It's who we are and what we are. I'm sure someone won't be happy with it, but let's go watch Star Trek.
Hey, you can please some of the people some of the time.
Yes.
As they say.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it was great. Thank you, Nick. You're gracious, and we look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Keep it up, buddy. Yes.
That way.
Live long.
The camera. Okay.
Now, is it live long and prosper or peace and long life?
Peace and long life.
Dude, same page. Peace and long life. Michael, take us away, please.
Okay. I can't remember. We have a show tomorrow night too, don't we?
We do have one Trekking
That's
Across
the
the
one.
Universe. We're going to be prepping for House of the Dragon every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, if anyone wants to join us. We're also going to be doing Trekking Across the Universe every Thursday at 6 p.m. We're going to be watching Lower Decks and Andor. And we're also going to be, y'all, you a fan of it? I didn't ask you about Lower Decks.
I love Lower Decks.
After the first season, Nick, or the season finale, oh my God, it was a self-contained movie.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
Love that
Michael and
show.
I go back and forth.
Again, not everybody's cup of tea, but I really like it.
It is what it is, and I appreciate it. Now, for Discovery, I have to tell you, the third season, The True Believers, it got me, Nick. Have you seen the third season of Discovery?
I've seen them all. Yeah.
Okay. The whole concept of the Federation in that century. Oh, the True Believers. At the very end of the first episode, when they raised the flag, my daughter and I got a bit misty-eyed. Oh, my God. Cool. It was good stuff. I love that aspect of it, the True Believers. I think in addition to being a citizen of the Federation, I am a true believer.
I like that.
All of us are.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
All right.
And Monday night.
Yes.
From Biggie. Yeah. From the.
In addition to Nick.
One of the streaming series on Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Upload. We're going to have the character Dylan. Reese Slack will be joining us, which is really cool. Have you seen that show?
Upload on Amazon?
No, I haven't actually.
You should look at it. It's
another show you mean. You know what? There's so many things to watch.
I know. But we're excited to have him on. I think he was 12 or 13 when he was on the show. He's 15 now. So he's coming on.
As I'm doing programs, as people tell me, I write down the names of the programs to watch. I still do it by paper. It's sad. So it's all good. Ladies and gentlemen, it won't end otherwise. I have to go. No. Peace and long life. Nick, thank you. Michael, thank you. This is it. We are true believers. We'll see you guys on the other side. Peace!